Starfield is less than a week away from early access, and it is almost too good to be true. To punctuate the excitement of the community, I wanted to release one last supercut before the game is playable for all of you, and I finally get to share my thoughts on the game. Yes, I did receive an early review copy of Starfield from Bethesda, and that embargo will lift on August 31st at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, when my review in progress video will go live. If you are not already subscribed with notifications on, now is the time to do so, because you do not want to miss that. If all you plan to do all day on the 31st is watch Starfield content until you can play at your specified release time, found on this handy image that Bethesda released this last week, then you might want to consider becoming a channel member or a patron. I'll have hours of exclusive content waiting for all of the channel supporters once the embargo lifts. If all you can do is think of Starfield, trust me, this will be worth a few bucks. In addition to the review in progress, I'll also host a live Q&A stream at 2 p.m. where I'll answer as many of your questions as I can. Don't worry, I will avoid story, plot, and a few location spoilers, but I'll be able to answer general questions about the game's design, mechanics, systems, and some brief story and lore elements. We're working on getting a forum set up in our Discord server for you to go ahead and get your questions in for that, so use the link in the description to join our Discord and get alerts when that forum is live. With those updates out of the way, enjoy this Starfield Signal Supercut Volume 4, filled with news, speculation, community interviews, and one of our most popular videos exploring Starfield's tone. The Starfield Direct event happened more than a month ago now, and with all of the Reddit posts and YouTube videos, you would think that we found every single detail that there is to find. But I feel like I've found two massive secrets that no one's talked about yet. And I've done my due diligence. I've looked through YouTube, I've looked through Reddit, I've looked through Google. I haven't been able to find these, and if I haven't found them, I bet no one else has been able to find them as well. So we're going to talk about these two massive secrets along with several other details and a few mistakes right after the intro. Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield. I know you're here for those two massive secrets, so let's just dive right into those. We'll cover everything else afterwards. Okay, for our first massive secret, this is at timestamp 4257 in the Starfield Direct. We see this little clip of somebody walking through an outpost, and there's lots of little things here, some equations and math and science on the board. But the thing I want to point out is right here. This is Starlocked. I'll blow this up in post for you, but again, I haven't seen anyone talk about this. This looks to be like a minigame, an in-game minigame that is designed for Starfield. And if you look really close, again, I'll try to zoom in and post here, you can see the different factions on here. I think that's the Freestar Collective, the Crimson Fleet, and then over here we have the United Colonies. I thought that maybe this right here was the game board, but it looks to be more like a little Zen garden type thing. I forget exactly what those are called, please excuse me. And there's a lot of other stuff over here, but for now, that was the big one that I found that I think, this looks to be like a mini game, right? Has the factions in there, looks to be something that we could do. I don't know exactly what this would look like, but this is some sort of board game, the equivalent of a board game in Starfield, that if they went through the trouble of designing this, surely we can play this. I think that is really cool. Okay, so that's massive secret number one. Massive secret number two, let's move on to timestamp 2751. This is the section where we've come into the Star Yard. It's talking about that, and we're kind of walking through the halls, and right here is this poster. Nothing particularly special about it at first glance, but again, I'm going to zoom in and post, and you can see that hand that's reaching out. This looks to be like a, like a motivational poster type thing, but you can see the hand that's reaching out is not what looks to be like a typical human hand in a spacesuit. This looks to be like a cybernetic prosthetic. Now, we have seen a glimpse of this in some concept art that was released back at the end of last year, I believe, in one of the, I think in the Neon City little feature they did. But other than that, we have not seen any NPC or any other evidence of cybernetic prosthetics. And this is just another piece of evidence towards that. A lot of people didn't give much credence to that very first concept art, because that's concept art, right? A lot of that stuff is drawn and created, even sometimes before, proper development happens. Sometimes it's even before alpha that all that stuff gets started. So to see this in an actual build of the game running, and that art is consistent, it has persisted into the development of the game, I feel like that gives us a strong indication of possibly a little secret that we haven't seen yet in gameplay or in an NPC, that we could have cybernetic prosthetics in game. Very cool. Let me know if you already knew about those two massive secrets that I came across, but for now, let's go ahead and dive into the other details, and a quick shout out to our Discord community. They actually helped me find a lot of these, and if you're looking for a good place on Discord to connect with about Starfield, then we invite you to join there. You can follow the link in the description, or just search for Starfield in Discord and we'll come up. I actually want to come back first to this scene we were looking at earlier, because there is a lot more stuff in here. Right here, we see what could be some sort of cybernetic prosthetic. It doesn't look so much like that I think that's, actual evidence to support the other big massive secret, but it looks like something that could be. Also, we have a basketball over here in a glass. This is in some sort of, glass case on display. It would be cool if this was signed by a popular NBA player from our time, or a WNBA player. I think that would be a really neat little Easter egg for us. But the cool stuff that I think is really neat, that a lot of people enjoy, look right here on the back of our player character. We have some stickers here, and one says Space Trucker and the other says Carrier. Now, I know a lot of people have been saying that they wanted to build some sort of space trucker, character, and do the trade routes and all that stuff, and that's how they want to make money. I don't think we've seen anything official in Bethesda marketing or in game yet that kind of uses that term, space trucker. So that's cool that we see that sticker there, kind of alluding to the fact that yes, that is a possibility. Okay, here we are at timestamp 11:52. We are at the Red Mile. We've just come in, and a lot of people have speculated that since it kind of shows all these things here, like run, Red Mile, that this could be Starfield's take on The Running Man, the show from the movie The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that was a really cool action sci-fi movie. I love that one. And then, there was a Total Recall, are some of my favorite Arnold movies from that era, and really great if you want to go check those out. But a lot of people have speculated that, hey, this looks to be like some sort of casino where you could come and play games. And yes, again, if you zoom in with this 8K footage, you might be able to see it on 4K as well. If you do use the 8K footage, you can very easily see that over here, this is a blackjack game. And even up here, this is, you can see the words poker kind of underneath the cards, and again, blackjack up on the top there. But just wanted to confirm that yes, this does look like some sort of casino. These also may be some mini games, but I know this was a little bit more common for people to notice and speculate on, so I didn't include that as a clickbait massive thing, just the other ones. If you're having a good time and enjoying the video, I would love for you to like this video. That helps other Starfield fans find our content. And hey, if nothing else, this could just be your little act of kindness you do today. Thanks. Here at timestamp 42:38, we get a good look at kind of an interactive map table. We've seen these a lot in Starfield. This particular one is in a star station, as they call them. We also have this in our ship, and I believe we've seen a similar table in Constellation's headquarters as well. But what I wanted to note here is, of course, it has lots of different measurements and lots of info in here. I wanted to just note out specifically this, what looks to be like a grav map, and this may allude to a way that we can navigate our star systems. It looks like some of these square sections are going to be maybe easily navigatable space that has been explored, and maybe the stuff outside of that is non-navigatable space. I'm not sure the best way to say that, but I just found this interesting, and again, that they would go through the trouble of kind of making this. It probably has some sort of in-game, there's something of significance to it in the game mechanics. So just wanted to point that out. We're back towards the start of the direct now, and here at timestamp 3:11, we see this indicator right here on our options, surface map. I don't believe we've seen the surface map in gameplay footage yet. So that was of note. Again, this one came directly from our Discord. Thank you guys. I believe it was maybe Spudman who called this out on there. Thank you, Spudman. At timestamp 3522, we see a lot of, they're talking about creatures and animals on the different planets. We see here at Tadacha 1 that they're scanning this creature, and it actually lets you know that the biomes that it's in: mountains, swamps, frozen plains, coniferous forest, and savanna. So that alludes strongly that to the fact that Tadacha 1 has most, if not all, of the different biomes that are going to be available in Starfield. I know we've known that there are going to be planets and surfaces with multiple biomes, but this is just a confirmation of that from the gameplay footage. And there were a few things that our Discord server found and included in our little details forum that I could not quickly find what the timestamps were for them, so please excuse this, but I do have some screenshots of this, and this specific one just shows that as you're scanning planets, it does give you an individual biome scan completed percentage, which is nice for all of you completionists out there. You're not going to have to worry, or it's going to help you isolate down, okay, if I've only scanned 99% of this planet, where in the world do I find that extra 1%? It's going to kind of scale that down for you so you know which biome to actually look in to find that last fauna scan or that last flora scan. So I think that's really cool. It's a nice quality of life feature just right off the bat. At timestamp 6:03, we are in the Porma system and our star navigation screen, and Porma 3 specifically gives us the information that it has a 2.01 gravity. This probably means that there are going to be some gravitational effects on us, since we've seen in gameplay and through the demo, through the direct, that low gravity will offer you some benefits as far as jumping through larger areas of space. That higher gravity could potentially have some negative effects as well, or maybe some positive effects if you're really clever. I'm interested to see what people do with that. At timestamp 32:17, we actually get a really good look at the Starfield controller that they've designed for this, and I did actually get one of these. It is really great build quality. I'm not trying to sell it. Lots of people think, oh, you don't need it. It's going to function exactly like a normal controller. There are no special buttons or special features on here. It's just the theme. But a lot of people have been wondering what all of the abbreviations are for, so I thought I would go through that, and I'm about 90 to 95% sure of all these. And a quick note about all of these abbreviations: these are all kind of geared towards controlling your ship. So it's not necessarily for controlling when you're on foot, out on the planet, exploring. It's mainly for the design factor, is to kind of make it feel like you have your ship controller here, which is really cool. So first up here, we scan. That's how we scan our planets. For flying, we have our throttle. This is power distribution is what this stands for. So remember in the direct when they were talking about distributing power between your shields, your weapons, or your engines, or your grav drive, this is where you will control all of that. Going from left to right, we come over here, we have our camera. So this is going to probably switch you from third-person mode to first-person mode. And then you have your data menu right here. Right here, RCS, this has been kind of a point of conversation, not necessarily disagreement, but a lot of people have speculated on what this means. What I'm about 90 to 95% sure this means is reaction control system. That's a common thing in spaceship games. This means the smaller thrusters, not your main engines, but the smaller thrusters that help you kind of, specifically they're for landing a lot of times. And so to kind of make small adjustments left or right or up or down to kind of help you land safely. This will most likely also contribute towards your, flying out in space, making subtle movements, helping you maneuver during combats or as you're flying through asteroid fields, things like that. So it's just another part of your maneuvering system as you fly your starship. Over here, TGT stands for targeting. You can probably cycle through different targets that are on screen here, whether you're scanning or whether you're mining asteroids or whether you're in combat. Here, you can lock, obviously. And GRP2 just stands for group. I'm unsure of what the 2 means. I'll confess that. I'm not sure if it means you can have up to 2 groups, but what group means in context of space sims and space flight games is you can have different groups set for your weapons or your tools. So if you want, you want your torpedoes ready to go, then you can have those assigned to a group, so you don't have to stop, pause the game, move your lasers out for your mining, and move your torpedoes back in, or your missiles for combat. You can just have those automatically assigned to a group. That's what that's for. And then B just says exit down here, so probably just like a cancel or an exit out of this menu. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too elementary, but I know I've seen a lot of conversation about that. Just want to clarify some of those. The next thing we'll take a look at is another screenshot. I am not well versed enough in computer graphics and processors and all of that stuff to give really any kind of commentary on this, but I at least wanted to put it up on screen. If you haven't seen this, this is just AMD's kind of marketing for what they're saying. Hey, here's the best you can get as far as the performance on Starfield, and then they kind of give like a better and a good. And so again, I'm not smart enough in this field to comment on this, but I wanted to include it here. If you haven't seen it already, you can pause it, look through this, and make your own decisions from that. We're at timestamp 1410 now in the character creation segment, and I missed this the first time through. I was looking at the character creator, but just wanted to come back and see it here under mouth. Of course, we have our different presets that you can look through here, but even from there, it looks like they're going to give you even sub design to where from the kind of preset that you get here, you can go ahead and shape it through some other variables here, from underbyte to overbyte to scaling up and scaling down. I just thought this was a neat little thing that I missed the first time, and I think it's just another kind of point in the basket for Starfield for making a great character creator. I'm really excited to get my hands on this. At timestamp 421, here we are in our data menu in our characters section, and we can see down at the very bottom that we have the ability to hide our spacesuit in settlements. And so if you spend a lot of time working on your avatar and you want it to look a certain way, not just in your facial features, but also the clothing that you wear, you can easily hide that when you're in kind of a breathable environment. So you don't have to go through the menu to take your suit off and put your clothes on and all that. So I think that, again, that's just a nice quality of life feature. Here I have another screenshot for you. Someone found in our Discord that as you were scanning a fauna or flora, that one of the resources was pigment. And then they connected this timestamp at, what is this, at 1317, when you're kind of waking up, going into your character creation. They noted that here we have the same spacesuit here, but this guy has kind of like an orange or a gold color around his neck piece, and this one is more kind of a gray or maybe black, depending on kind of how that light is hitting it. But they said this is an example of how you can use this resource of pigment to come in here, and that just tells me that, well, yes, of course we have lots of customization, but there's going to be in-game mechanics to where maybe you have to find this specific color. You have to scan this specific color or the animal or the flora that have this specific color resource to be able to use it. Maybe we'll get like a few kind of basic ones to start with, but then above and beyond that, it's just kind of an incentive and a reward for those who want to go exploring. Maybe we'll get a lot of other pigments and a lot of other colors to use. Another screenshot here. Again, sorry, I couldn't find this in a quick way. I know I've seen this, I just couldn't find it in here. But this guy has a trucker hat on that has this animal on there. And then here we also see in the gameplay where this animal was, I think, hunted by this hunter guy here. And so that's just like a cool thing that, again, kind of lots of consistency in the gameplay design, which is really cool. Another screenshot for you. Here, one of our Discord members found this flamethrower arm that looks like it could be attached to a mech. So that's exciting because we haven't seen any kind of customization just yet of Vasco, but this alludes to the fact that maybe there are weapons and tools and different pieces of equipment that we could find or even make through the crafting and then put that onto Vasco depending on what we need him for our mission. If we need him for mining, if we need him for combat, we have a little bit of customization there. At timestamp 1234, we get another shot of the data menu here, and specifically here we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sub-menus that we could potentially go into. And I know this is sort of common, lots of people have seen this, but I did want to kind of make note of this, not as a new find, but just as a commentary on this. So lots of people think this 6th menu right here at the top could be what lots of people are referring to as space magic. You remember at the end of the direct where we see the character stretch out his hand, do some sort of what looks to be like a gravitational effect, and then the other NPCs that you're fighting go limp and their guns disappear and they just kind of float in the sky. This could be the sub-menu to get into those specific skills. And that's the thing that I wanted to pull out here, is if we're getting a whole sub-menu for this space magic, again, that's a very non-clever way to describe it, excuse me, but that means that there could be lots of different options within that specific skill set. So if it's based in gravity, there could be, think about Mass Effect, there could be push, pull, singularity, lots of things that they explored there in Mass Effect. We could even get the ability to create some sort of gravitational shield around ourselves. We could get maybe the ability to blink, kind of like move forward. I think that was some sort of shout in Skyrim. At timestamp 1720, we see developer Dane Olds here, and this was probably one of my favorite developers from the direct. He just seemed like he had a really cool vibe about him. Also, he designs the weapons, right? So that's really cool. And in that regard, look at this back here. It looks like he has a real-life model of what some people think is the Grendel weapon, like a submachine gun. So very cool, Dane. We need to see some more shots of that after the game releases, and you don't have to worry about secrecy as much. That is really cool. Now we're in our shipbuilding section of the direct, and here at timestamp, what is this? This is timestamp 2115. We see the Frontier here, which looks to be like kind of the default starting build for the Frontier. Notice the value down here, $73.75. That's not a lot, especially in context of what we've seen other guns and items that we've found their value throughout the direct, if you look in the menu when it pops up. So this is just another example of how, if a lot of you who are like, hey, I want to build a big economy and I want to just go and sell all my spaceships and steal spaceships and sell them, it looks like they're going to have kind of a neat way to kind of prevent you from doing that, not in a way that makes it not fun, but in a way that kind of makes it where you got to work a little bit harder to start making some cash. You can't just go and sell off your Frontier, because if it's used and it's damaged and it's not like brand new, then it may not have the kind of value that you're expecting it to have. And also on that note, notice here that it says registered, so the Frontier is registered. I remember specifically Todd Howard saying in, I think, the Kind of Funny interview when they were talking about ships and building economies, he said, okay, they wanted to make sure that you couldn't kind of abuse that system and go steal a ship and bring it in, then just sell it or scrap it for parts, that you do have to register it to be able to kind of get into the customization options, and most likely to be able to sell it at some sort of massive profit as well. And it's going to cost money, credits, to register those ships. And so it sounds like they've thought about this. They may do a little bit of balancing after launch, but I'm particularly excited to get into this element of the game. Okay, this is, I think, a common one that is out there and people have talked about, but I never actually saw a screenshot of this until someone in our Discord shared it. So Rage Quit is right here in your Dogstar console in your ship. And I'm unsure if that's actually like an eject button of some sort, or if it's just like just a funny little nod to gaming, right? And this is at timestamp 3016. I don't think I said that. Here we're back to the Star Yard section where we were earlier to find that poster. And just a quick note that we see Demos here. Demos, or maybe Demos, you guys give me a hard time for how I pronounce things. Please excuse me. It's not a word I use every single day. But this is, we've seen this before. This is a manufacturer in Starfield. And so they make ship parts. But we also know that, I didn't know this, someone told me that this is the name of one of the 2 moons of Mars. So this could be, if we think about Mars, evidently has a lot to do with the lore of Starfield. Deimos could have been one of the first manufacturers to start producing ship parts to go out into the cosmos and explore even more, if they originated on Mars. So that's just a cool little Easter egg, I think. At timestamp 43, we have this little scene. And I didn't realize the first time I saw this, maybe this is very obvious to everyone else, but just because I was trying to take everything in, this is an example of how their procedural generation system can work. This developer is talking about how you can go to, a planet and have completely different experiences. And so here it shows this kind of what looks to be, it kind of reminds me of like the Fortress of Solitude, right? From like Superman lore, like crystals everywhere. And then it kind of does this cool transition, and it's a different structure here. It's to be, I don't know what that would be, maybe some sort of science outpost. Could be a lot of different things, but that is what I wanted to note here, that's a cool little way to show how you could be in the exact same place as one of your buddies or one of your friends and have a completely different experience in that regard. Also note that it does look like the same terrain here, right? Like you have the lakes and the mountains, and the creatures, and the same kind of biome here. But as you go through, the only thing that's different is that structure. So that gives us a little bit of hint into how this procedural generation system is actually going to work. I know there's a lot of conversation about that, but that's just another little glimpse into that way that the game works. And the last little detail that I wanted just to show is this shot right here at timestamp 4236. This just gave me real big Stranger Things vibe. If you're not a fan of Stranger Things, you don't watch that, it's a great show on Netflix. It's about kind of run its course, I think, but I think they do have one more season left in them. But this just gave me a huge Stranger Things vibe, which I'm a big fan of, so pretty cool. It also looks like, with the kind of the pink and purple sky and haze in the atmosphere, this could be an example of a biome or a specific planet where you have to have certain gear to be able to survive in it, or your ship has to have certain filters on it to be able to land in it safely. Now let's move on to the mistakes that I found, and a quick note on this. This is not to criticize the developers. They have made this massive game and put so much effort into this. This is not to criticize them. This is mainly just kind of a point of fun and little Easter eggs for all of us diehard Starfield fans that are still watching at this point. So it's not to criticize them, just fun little things for us to notice. The first mistake we'll look at is at timestamp 4007, where this NPC is holding this gun, and you see the handle right here, but his hand is kind of holding up right here, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. Sometimes you can hold guns in different ways, but his thumb is clipping through the gun right there. So very, very small mistake. Again, not a criticism, just a fun little Easter egg for us hardcore fans. The next mistake is at timestamp 4105, and you have to go pretty much frame by frame to see it, but this is where we're striking an NPC with an enemy with our samurai sword, and you see right here, it clips out of our player character's hand for just a frame. It's back in it there. Clipped out, it's in, right, clipped out, and then it's back in. At timestamp 3911, we get a good glimpse of this gun, and I think I even noted this in one of my combat videos, but I completely missed, or even just corrected for it in my mind, but it doesn't say state of the art right here. I'll try to zoom in for you in post, but it says state of the art, and one of my Discord members said they must be from Boston. State of the art. That's my horrible Boston accent, I'm sorry. I'll stick with the Southern accent, sorry. At timestamp 3003, we actually get a really interesting one. I'm not sure if this is a mistake or it alludes to something else going on here, but we're in kind of this dogfight here, and the ships in red are in combat with us. So we have the UC Dagger here and the Freestar Caravan 3 here. Then we have the UC Discovery over here and something else going on there. But the thing we wanted to note is this. Notice, okay, so UC discovery we are not in combat with. It has UC discovery, and it also has the emblem for UC. But then here we have Freestar Caravan. We have the Freestar symbol. But then we look over here, we have the UC dagger. But this has the Freestar emblem on it. So it's a UC ship with a Freestar emblem. This could be a mistake, or this could allude to something cool like, well, a Freestar rogue agent went and stole a UC ship, and we're partnering with the UC to go and get it back. That's why we're in combat with both of these here. Maybe. Again, this one came from our Discord at timestamp 2941. We see the planet Kazal, and we see here that it has a sulfur mine on it as a point of interest, as somewhere where we could land and do a mission. But notice over here in the resources, sulfur is not listed. Maybe this may be a mistake, or it may be that the resource and the trait system in Starfield is not necessarily linked to the procedural generation of sites and of areas and special places of note. Or it could be that, well, maybe sulfur isn't actually technically like a resource that you could use that would matter in the game system. But then why would they include it as a point of interest? I don't know. Seems like it could be a mistake, could be a neat little lore thing going on, or maybe it's just a gameplay mechanic issue, but nonetheless, suspicious. Okay, we're getting really nitpicky here, but it is maybe a little mistake nonetheless. At timestamp 714, we see one of our first looks of New Atlantis, and specifically here, let me just play it for you. Okay, what it's really hard to see, especially when someone's just playing it right here, but notice this NPC right down here. He's walking very closely to this NPC in front of him, and his pathing is kind of getting blocked, so he's doing like a little bit of stuttering, kind of what we've seen before in Skyrim and in Fallout, where someone's trying to get somewhere and they can't quite get there. It has that stuttering effect. Watch one more time. Just a little bit, not much. Tiny little nitpicky thing, but someone mentioned it, so thanks for calling that out in Discord. At timestamp 338, we are in the first little glimpse of combat we get, and someone mentioned that this looked like a mistake, or maybe it's something else. See our gun come out, and right here we fire our first shot, and even though we see the cursor, the reticule on the enemy here, he just noted that our gun was facing way down here and doesn't look like it's actually pointing to the enemy here. And he said, well, this looks like a mistake, or maybe something was coded in to kind of make it look like this player was playing better than they actually were for the gameplay footage. This also could be, I know as developers, they have all these little tricks to help us feel as players like, hey, we're awesome, right? They want us to feel like we're having fun. They want us to feel like we're really good. So this could just be like a little bit of a bullet tracking system in Starfield to help you with combat. If they did include this in combat, they most likely included a way, whether it's through the difficulty level or another feature that you can change. They probably made a way for you to either turn this off or lessen it in some way for those who want a better challenge. And I have one more bonus mistake for you at timestamp 849. And the reason I put this last is, again, I'm not sure if it's a mistake per se or just a choice that the developers had to make to get kind of everything fit in here. But notice in this scene where we're in Constellation's headquarters, we're around this kind of grav map table, or this interactable table with a glass top. Notice the people are not included in the reflections. And I'm just going to play through the scene and just kind of watch. The characters are not in those reflections. And also notice, as we play through, there's like a little stutter. Do you see that? You see those 3 stutters it has there? That's because those reflections are not updating at the 30 frames per second that everything else is. So everything else is 30 frames per second over here. This is updating at either, I don't know, look like maybe 10 frames per second or something like that, or maybe once every 10 frames. It was significantly lower. Now, I'm not smart enough to really understand this or why they did this or if this is going to be updated to be better, but Digital Foundry did an incredible job of breaking this down. Just search for Starfield Digital Foundry and you'll find that they did a terrific job. Very smart guys over there. I always enjoy watching them. Thank you so much for watching. A quick reminder to like the video, and if you've really enjoyed the video or you're enjoying our channel, consider subscribing. We would love for you to join the Signal crew, and a big thank you to our patrons and our YouTube channel members. They get some really cool perks by supporting the channel financially. If you're interested in that, you can check that out in the links in the description. We'd love for you to join us. This has just been an incredible journey. Starfield is coming. I'm excited. I know you all are too. Thank you for coming along the journey with me and with our Signal crew. But for now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield. And yes, we just got some brand new videos from Bethesda Softworks on their YouTube channel. They launched at about 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time today on July 25th. And what I wanted to do is just watch these with you guys, want to enjoy them with you as a community. Also, maybe to just react to them a little bit, make a few observations. I'm probably not going to break these down super in depth on this video, but we'll have a follow-up video later to break down each of these and see what we can glean from it. So let's dive in. Okay, so just kind of knee-jerk reaction. I absolutely love this art style. I think it is really, really cool. I love it that this isn't more like typical marketing. It's not like, hey, here's some cool guns that you'll be able to use, or here's some cool spaceships that you'll be able to fly, or here's some of our story missions, or here's how the game runs and whatever FPS. It's about feeling, right? It's about building this world. It's about building this lore. And I love it that they use these small personal stories to do that. Yeah, it's so cool. And so like I feel more like personally invested, like emotionally invested in these characters and in this world, and even feeling like, oh, I want to experience that in some ways. Maybe not my parents dying in a horrible battle, a horrible mech battle. But yeah. And I know probably a lot of people, we'll go back here in just a second. Probably a lot of people are going to say, oh, mech's confirmed. But I don't know if that's what this is. Like, we already knew there were mechs in the game, right? But we have already heard it confirmed that there's no ground transportation other than maybe our boost pack. So I wouldn't get carried away with that, and speaking to myself as well, because I know I get carried away with a lot of ideas sometimes. But let's go back. We're not going to break down everything, but I do have just a few thoughts that I wanted to share as we just kind of scan back through here. Beautiful shot in New Atlantis. Again, just kind of I love the art style. So I'll have to look up what this art style is called, if there's a certain style or name for it. Of course, the Vanguard. And I know we've seen, so I think this is like the UC symbol right here on there, because I think we've seen that quite a bit. So he's probably maybe he's a space trucker. He's delivering small packages, and he wants to do something more with his life, and he looks determined. We've seen this before, mast and the flags. We've done some videos about that, kind of what they all mean. I love kind of the halation kind of around the highlights, kind of emulating old film. This is really cool. Signing up for the Vanguard. And I wanted to come back and read this disclaimer. It says, by joining the United Colonies Vanguard, you agree to perform necessary services for the United Colonies that could place you in serious danger, resulting in harm to your craft or yourself, up to and including death. Okay, so interesting. So right here they're saying like, hey, you gotta bring your own spaceship. That's funny. Okay. Good blast off and see some fighting. I did notice this as well. So this is kind of like a montage of him making credits as he's going out and fighting the good fight, as it were. So he gets a little bit at first, kind of gets that gleam in his eye, does a few more missions, maybe a few more bounties, gets some more credits, and then we see a big old pile of credits right there after. So that when I see that, I'm like, oh yeah, my eyes are getting big too, because I'm all about the economy, and I think that's going to be so cool in the game. And this was great as well. Kind of shows a more relaxed, like he's made a lot of money, he has a nice home, and he sees these ships taking off, and it's like that feeling of exploration or that feeling of combat is calling to him, and so he leaves his drink, leaves the comfort of his own home, and fires up the engines. And so I love this narrative. I love this creativity poured into this one very personal story that could potentially be a good influence for a lot of role-playing playthroughs. So really love that first one. Okay, let's move on to the second one. Again, we're not going to break it down too crazy. Just a few observations. All right, we're in Neon. Vol 2 Alpha, or Vol-E Alpha. Does anyone know if it's Vol 2 or Vol-E? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. There's still a little bit of disagreement on that. So we just got some ruffians here. They're making some decisions, stealing some things, making marks, taking it to their fences, getting some money. And we see that card she has with that with that symbol on it. We get a better look at it here. So, yeah, surely this is Ryujin Industries. What else would this be? And I'm sure I've seen this before. Maybe I just didn't connect that, or I don't remember seeing it. Let me know in the comments if it's something else, if you know what it is. And she evidently, I mean, like her face here, it looks like she has some sort of emotional connection to this. Like it's not just a place for her. Maybe it's where her parents worked or work currently. Or maybe it's where she thinks, maybe that would give me a solution to like get out of this life of crime. Like I kind of like it, but maybe I'm wanting something more. So maybe that's where kind of this tension is between her and her partner here. Get out of here. And she comes in for this and gets her card or credit card, I guess, and a gun and something to sign, which, as we all know, you should always sign things corporations give you because they're watching out for you. All right. That's it for that second one. And then let's take a look at this third one. I think I had just a few thoughts I wanted to go back and take a look at where hope is built. Kill a city. This is... I don't know if this is my favorite one or not. I think this is my favorite one because it's so personal and it's about family. Of course, I'm a family man. I have a lovely wife. I have 2 beautiful daughters, and so this is kind of turning in my soul right now, thinking about this, just being emotionally connected to it. Yeah, so looks like this person here is just has to do some repairs. So they go over here. Looks like they're just kind of lost, not really knowing what to do. See the statue of Solomon Coe here remembers the maybe the colony wars, right? And his parents were in mechs, got blasted by some missiles, and now their memorial is set up right there by Solomon Coe's statue. You see this person come in and save the day and be a good person. So I don't think we've seen any kind of like morality system. That's usually not Bethesda's vibe. They're just like, make the decisions you want to make and then kind of live with those consequences, but they're not going to shoehorn you into like a good morality or a bad morality. In this particular instance, you turn down a reward from this person you save with a cred stick, and you're like, no, let me just fix this thing and we'll head on out and have some adventures together. So it's kind of like finding a new family or making a family wherever you are, which is a beautiful sentiment. Kind of moving on. Okay, so those are the 3 new videos we got. I am pleasantly surprised. When I saw everything pop up on my notifications, I was like, oh great, we get like more things to break down. And honestly, there's not a lot to break down here. I feel like this is something more just to kind of be experienced, to be left with a feeling, to kind of chew on it. And I'm as much excited about those moments in Starfield as I am the combat and the economy and the shipbuilding. I'm excited for those moments where I know a lot of people made fun of them, but Todd Howard was saying in some of the interviews, like where you just kind of get to go to this desolate planet just to be there and just to listen to the wind or water if you got a little stream coming through, or listen to the animals nearby or the creatures, or if nothing else is there and it's all desolate, then just watching the sunset or watching the sunrise or watching the 3 moons go around or whatever it is. I definitely dig that vibe sometimes, and I feel like that's probably good for all of us to a certain extent. So yeah, thanks for watching and experiencing these 3 videos with me. I appreciate it. We are going to do a lot more videos leading up to Starfield launch. So if you're not already subscribed, I would love for you to do that and kind of join us on our Starfield journey. If you haven't already, hit the like button for this video. Whoa. You know what? I'm just going to leave that in because I've had so many technical difficulties this morning trying to get this content out to you guys. And so that's just a perfect way to end it. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. Have a good one, guys. Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield. I'm your friend Luke, and yes, the economy system is going to be a crucial part of any successful playthrough of Starfield. From what we've seen of Starfield so far, there are several different systems in the game to engage with, from combat, shipbuilding, outpost resource generation, crew and companion management, and many others. And the great thing about Bethesda games is the freedom they give you to engage with these systems as a whole or independently of each other. If you want to focus on combat and become this awesome solo war machine, no need to worry about investing in your companions if you don't want them slowing you down. If you are all about building the most awesome epic ships in the game, but you don't want to take the time to create and manage outposts, well, no problem. It's been said Starfield could be characterized as many games in one. It's an exploration game, it's a combat game, it's a space simulation game, it's a crafting game, and on and on and on. But there's one thing at the center of all of these features and systems that affects everything else: the economy. Credits will have a major influence on how fast, how far, and how deep you go with the game. Of course, the main driver of the game will be missions coupled with exploration incentives, but the mechanics they've put in place indicate there will be massive financial barriers in strategic and balanced moments in the game's progression. This is why it's so important for any kind of playthrough or any kind of build to intentionally engage with the economy system from the very start of the game, so your progression doesn't come to a crashing halt when all of a sudden you need a better grav drive to make a necessary jump to another star system, but you don't have the credits for it. To give us some context for how important the developers designed the economy to be, let's take a look back at the character creation segment and specifically at the backgrounds and starter skills. Just a short break here. If you enjoy doing at least one kind thing each day, consider hitting that like button for me as it helps other Starfield fans find my content. Also, did you know about Xbox Clubs? If you're on Xbox consoles, then scroll down to the community section on your homepage and go to Clubs. Then just search for Starfield and you'll find our crew there. We'd love to see you. Thanks. The diplomat background gives us some good insight here. While we saw in this 2022 showcase, diplomat had the starting skill of bargaining, this was changed to commerce in the recent Starfield Direct event of 2023. The change was made simply due to commerce being the first tier skill that will lead to bargaining, but the most noticeable thing here is the description commerce carries with it. It reads, "In the settled systems free market economy, almost anyone with the right skill set can open and run a successful business." Breaking this down tells us a couple of things. First, the phrasing here of opening and running a business suggests the ability to set up legitimate ways to make quick money and to be able to build this into a passive income system that can continue earning for you even when you're away exploring or completing missions. Second, because it's a first tier skill, we can assume that this feature will not be locked behind late game content, but that we'll actually be able to start building our income early in the game. Considering these two things, this tells me the developers put a lot of work in balancing and pacing the game with your credits in mind. Yes, you can choose to focus on any of the many aspects of Starfield in your playthrough: combat, shipbuilding, outposts, crew, companions, bounty hunting, smuggling, exploration, piracy, crafting, mission, story, and everything else. But the economy system is connected to all of these things, and all of these things point back to the economy system in some way. So, don't ignore the economy, and you'll have a much smoother experience enjoying your first playthrough. Next, I wanted to quickly scan through a few key parts from the Direct and make some observations that can give us some more context for the breadth and depth of the economy. Like with all economies, you're going to have options from basic items at budget pricing to higher-end items at luxury pricing. For example, looking at around the 413 mark, we see several different weapons and their different values. As you can see, a few are more basic weapons that we'll probably have access to at the beginning of the game. And these are priced fairly low compared to some of the more advanced weapons with special damage modifiers or higher damage. Similarly, we can see different space suits follow this pattern as well. Suits with less damage reduction and perks are priced lower than suits with better stats. Nothing revolutionary here, I know, but this gives us a good baseline for the kind of credits we'll need early in the game. These are all items we can obtain by level 11, which I would guess we can most likely achieve within about 4 to 6 hours of gameplay. Looking a little further down the financial path, we get a glimpse at ship values, which Todd Howard himself has said they are designed to be expensive in the game. We can see here at 2115, our starting ship, the Frontier, has a value of 7,375 credits. Now, when you compare this with the undoubtedly delicious meal of trilobites priced at 740 credits, that doesn't seem like a very expensive spaceship. Or maybe it's just a really expensive version of caviar or something like that. But there has been discussion in the Starfield community about the disappointment between these two price points, and while that is fair, I think it's important to remember the context of trilobites being a luxury price consumable and the Frontier being our busted up and depreciated in value spaceship. We actually see around 2728 some other ships that seem to be more mid-game tiered ships that we can acquire. These are priced anywhere from 13,000 to 50,000 credits, and lastly, we get a glimpse at what we can assume are more late-game ships around the 20-minute, 28-second mark, with prices ranging from 264,000 to over 650,000 credits. And I'm sure with upgrades, you could get these to a value of over 1 million credits. So rest assured that the economy will be fairly balanced, with maybe an easier earning to expense curve in the early stages of the game. If you're enjoying yourself, consider subscribing for more Starfield content. We have a ton of great videos planned for the launch of Starfield in, just a few weeks. Lastly, we do get some brief insight into how the outpost system and companions engage with the economy system. At 3706, in the outpost section, the developer tells us that we can assign companions and crew members to outposts for bonuses, and we can set up extractors to harvest resources while we're away. This confirms part of the passive income side of the economy I mentioned earlier, and this tells us that even within that passive income system, there are options to maximize our resource and revenue generation depending on which crew members we assign to which task. I expect these bonuses will be tied to the crew members' individual skills and perks they possess, which has led to even deeper questions. Are we able to train crew members to upgrade these perks and skills for even more bonuses in our outpost or ships? Back to outposts specifically. Todd Howard did confirm in his Kinda Funny Games interview at around the 43-minute mark, outposts are a deep system that will probably take advantage of late game. You'll need character skills and you'll need resources. You can also connect outposts between planets, shuttling cargo between them. This tells me that some more advanced mining or resource extracting or crafting might need resources from other planets, and that's where the cargo connections come in. When asked if outposts can be an economy builder for your player, he responded with a simple, yes they can. If you haven't already watched our first video about the economy system, I would love for you to go back and watch that. We did a lot of speculation and dreaming that turned out to be a lot of it correct. But there are a few things we talked about that haven't been confirmed just yet. Can we broker deals with specific manufacturers? Do our actions affect market values for certain resources and supplies? Will Gal Bank issue loans for ships and outposts in addition to our homes? Can we invest credits to earn interest from the bank? So many questions we still have, but I suppose that is the fun part of the journey. If you are interested in our Signal launch kit, complete with a custom Series X console case and headset controller stand, you can join the waitlist for those items through the link in the description. Quantities will be extremely limited, especially to get out by Starfield's launch date, so be sure to join the waitlist as they will have first access. I am so excited to get into the game and see how I can create my economic empire. This is definitely going to be part of my first playthrough, but even after that, I'm excited to see what are all the small and easy things that I can do to give my player a few extra credits here and there, even on playthroughs that aren't as focused on the economy. Do you plan to carefully and strategically build your empire like me, or will you just rough it out in the vast unknowable space and steal and kill for whatever you need to find? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and hit that bell if you want more Starfield content. Thank you to all of our patrons and YouTube channel members for supporting the channel financially. And thank you for watching, liking, and commenting. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. Yes, we can make some massive ships in Starfield, but is it as big as you want? Let's see. Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield. I am your friend Luke. Let's see how big we can make our custom ships in Starfield. We see a ton of ships in the Starfield Direct, and everyone is excited to build their own. But a question that I see that keeps coming up again and again is how large can we make our custom spaceships? And specifically, can we build custom capital ships? We get a few hints at this in the Direct. At 2108, we see the Frontier, but we also get a good look at the building grid. Bethesda has said they used this same builder program to create all of the ships in the game, just like the character creator, with the exception of maybe just a few that are unique to certain locations or story missions. So looking at the grid, we can count 20 markers on each side of the length and width indicators. The Frontier looks to be right at 5 markers long on the fore side and just under 3 markers long on the port side, with lengths of 20 meters long and 11 meters wide, respectively. That tells us each marker indicates 4 meters. We see another confirmation of these values at 2129 when they are customizing the Frontier. Now, back to the whole grid. If each marker gives us 4 meters and we have 20 markers on each side, that gives us 40 markers in total length and total width, equating to a maximum build area of 160 meters or 175 yards or 525 feet. To put that in perspective of real life, it's about the same size in length and width as 1.5 times an American football field or a Premier League pitch. Real quick, if you want some sweet Signal merch like this shirt or hats or mugs or stickers or anything like that, you can head right on over to our store page on the YouTube channel. This helps support the channel, and it's a fun way to get hyped together for the launch of Starfield. Now, back to spaceships. So what about height? Though we don't see any kind of limit or measurements in the building system itself, we do get a hint at what's possible at the 2250 mark when they show off this Optimus Prime inspired mech. I believe this is the tallest ship we see in the Direct, and though we don't get measurements, we can see it's at least about 9 modules tall. And here at 2245, we see these developers working in the ship builder, and their ship seems to be at least 6 modules in height here. And yes, they named it Dumpster Fire. Nice. If we assume that we could build up as far as we can build in length and width, this would be about as tall as the Washington Monument in DC. So these are just a few things that give us hints as to how large we can make our spaceships in Starfield. But of course, there are a ton of variables that we just don't know yet. For example, there could be a way through our skills progression to increase our building limit, or maybe different spaceports have unique building platforms. And of course, there's a question of not only how big am I able to build, but how big can I afford to build? If you want to hear more about the potential economy in Starfield, watch our recent video where we discuss how every system in Starfield will be affected by the economy and why it will be important to make credits quickly. So in conclusion, yes, we can make absolutely massive ships in Starfield, but can we make capital ships? It doesn't seem like the shipbuilder we have access to has the capacity to build the kind of massive giants that some fans say they want. However, as every Bethesda fan knows, there's always modding. Thank you to all of our patrons and YouTube channel members who support the channel. Thank you for watching, liking, and commenting. If you want to be on the Signal crew, it's as easy as hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell for notifications. If you like more of a back and forth discussion on all things Starfield, you can find us on Discord through searching Starfield, or just click the link in the description. We are only a month out from Starfield's early access, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield. This is one of our most requested videos, a follow-up to one of our earlier projects that will highlight the amazing cinematic shots from the Starfield Direct. These scenes will feature the all-new global illumination lighting system and create the most filmic and cinematic tone we've ever seen in a Bethesda game. Enjoy the footage, enjoy the music. I give you Starfield: A Cinematic Journey, Volume 2. Thank you so much to all of our patrons and YouTube channel members who help support the channel. Thank you for liking, commenting, and watching the video. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. I was wrong. I was wrong again. After the Starfield Direct, I did not think that we would get much, if anything at all, from Bethesda about Starfield. But we've gotten a lot. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield. I'm your host, Luke, and today we're going to be talking mainly about the Jamie Mallory interview that was just posted on Bethesda's website. She is one of the producers of Starfield at Bethesda Game Studios, and you may remember her from the Starfield Direct from these clips.
It's a bit odd, but one of my favorite ways of customizing ships is I make them look like animals. I definitely go like the more piracy routes. I want to take over ships. I'm going to board ships. I'm like, this is now mine. I steal all these sandwiches and put them, in my cargo hold that I have specifically for sandwiches. I don't want to play the hero, but I want to go out and just start taking things from people as quickly as possible.
Our favorite sandwich pirate, yes, Jamie. But what I want to do is kind of tease out some of the things she said in this interview, specifically with the shipbuilder. Now, there are also a few other things that I want to kind of draw out, and my favorite one is actually going to be at the end of this video, where we're going to draw out what she says about the faction quest lines and the different side storylines that you have there. I think there's some really interesting things there, so stick around to the end of the video if you want to hear that. But first, let's go ahead and dive into kind of the promise of this video, talking about what she said about the new shipbuilder. Let's get into it. The level of team collaboration on the project was off the charts, talking about Starfield, especially when it came to shipbuilder. We had an amazing team with some developers who worked on the incredible snap maps in Doom 2016. And we've got this massive list of exciting features we're looking forward to discussing and potentially implementing in the future. Earlier in the interview, Jamie actually reveals that she started her career working on Doom 2016 with that team, and so it's no surprise that she was able to connect that team who built the snap maps in Doom to the shipbuilder in Starfield that we've seen before. But the new thing that is revealed is this idea of snap maps, and so I wanted to do a little bit of research. I haven't seen anybody else diving in this deep into this, but a quick Google search of Doom snap maps revealed a really cool thing. So I never played Doom 2016, but if you're familiar with that, forgive me, so I'm going to dive into this a little bit. But I found this great video from YouTuber Lomadia. Please forgive me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. But right here, we see she is kind of going through what looks to be the snap map builder and system. So let's just kind of take a look at that, and I'll play some of this as we talk over it. But this already looks super familiar, right, to what we've seen of the shipbuilder. We have these little kind of nodules, these circles that you can connect to one another. So taking different parts, different size buildings that are already kind of pre-built parts, and we're snapping these together. And it looks like this person has a lot of experience with this, because they are moving fast. You can see they kind of bring up different menus. Let me go back to that. So they bring up different menus, and they're able to select, okay, which prison do you want? So right here they have a prison, and they have different shapes and sizes with different amounts of snapping points to them. And this definitely is reminiscent of what we've already seen of the shipbuilder. The thing that really caught my attention is how they go from this kind of map style grid to what we can clearly see is influenced the shipbuilder, what we've seen so far, to something we haven't seen already in the shipbuilder, and that is interior customization. Okay, we can see here we are in kind of the map view of the snap map, or what we could correlate to the shipbuilder. But then watch this, they transition from the map view into, okay, this is what you've built. You're in your 3D space now. And I bet we're going to see something really similar in the shipbuilder in Starfield, because a lot of people have been asking, right? Okay, well, this all looks really exciting. I'm excited to build my ship, but how can I get into my ship and really customize everything on the walls, everything in the interiors, from the furniture to the technology to where my crew members sit? This looks like it's going to be the way they're going to do that. So we zoom in here, and you can see this YouTuber is able to kind of walk through what she's built, kind of see how does this look on the inside, and we see here it even tells them like, okay, here's a snap point, and this is what it is. And so they can kind of get some context as to, okay, this is where I was in the map view of this, and this is where I am in the 3D space. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So in here they have like some combat loading in sections, and again, it looks like a lot of customization. What I think is most appropriate kind of for our purposes today is where they come into this mode, and this is what they call props in this video. I'm not sure if that's kind of the official term in Doom 2016, but look here, they have the option to put in floor clutter, wall clutter, ceiling clutter, decal layers, sound layers. This makes me so much more excited for Starfield Shipbuilder, knowing that this level of detail is going to be, most likely, going to be available to us. Okay, so they can turn these things on. I absolutely love this. Even from here, you see they can change the atmosphere from burned to, what was the other one they changed? From burned to cold as hell. Let's go back to that. And so even kind of these templated vibes and feels of what you want your ship to feel like. And let's keep going, and we'll see some more customization. Okay, here, again, they are able to turn all of these things on. Changing the mood, changing the vibe, changing the clutter, changing the feel of it. Here, we have some more specific props from just things, from big drums of containers, maybe some resources in here, to just different things that you can have on it to make it feel like, hey, this is a lived-in ship, or this is a lived-in environment. This is something that was actually built by people who needed things for a purpose, right? A lot of that immersion is really coming through here. And so if you're the kind of person that can really lose yourself in building an environment, storytelling through that environment, building your own lore, your own character development, I think with this in mind, the Starfield Shipbuilder is not going to disappoint. And again, just look at all things that you would usually pass by in a video game and not even think about. Someone placed there, and now you can be that person who placed it there. You can see they can change the size, they can change the placement, they can change where music transitions happen. That is really cool. Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay, so check out, I'll link this video in the description of my video. Go and check that out if you're curious, if you want to really dig deep. But I think just giving us a glimpse of what's possible with this system that they built with Snap Maps, taking this into the Starfield Shipbuilder, it blows me away. I'm really, really excited. I honestly did not think that it could possibly be this detailed, but this gives us some indication that it could be, which is really cool. And, taking this probably applies to the Outpost as well, right? We saw a little bit more interior customization with the Outpost, but nothing this detailed or nothing this specific. So I think this is something that they were kind of holding back because maybe it seems a bit too technical, maybe it seems a bit overwhelming at first, but I think it's exciting. So I'm excited for that. Next, I want to talk about terminals. Jamie mentions this in her interview. The terminals added another layer of depth to the game, usually giving players more insight into the story and lore of the area they are currently in. Now, when I first read this, I was kind of reading all of it to take it all in, and I initially thought, okay, is she talking about like spaceport terminals? Because like an airport terminal, right, is where you go from, like your waiting area into your ship, or you go from your ship into the waiting area to, kind of go out into the city. And I was thinking, like, we didn't see anything like that in the direct. We just saw our ships landing directly in the spaceport on that big circular pad, and then we would go into the city from there, and I guess they take care of it in a garage, or it automatically stores or something. We haven't seen that yet. But we definitely didn't see any kind of area or space where we go from our ship into a building and then into the city or to an outpost or something. And so that was kind of curious to me at first, but then as I read through the description of what she said more, I started thinking, no, that's not what this is. That would be cool, but I don't think that's what this is. When she says terminals, I believe she's talking about like computer terminals. So, and this is pretty standard in a lot of RPGs, right? And we've seen this before in Bethesda RPGs where, Fallout, you go to a computer terminal and there's memos and there's emails and there's research there that maybe even could give you points, kind of think about like reading books in Skyrim. Some of those books give you a little boost in your lock picking or your sneaking ability or something. They have skills attached to them. Maybe that's what she's talking about here when it comes to terminals, is computer terminals, where she says that it adds another layer of depth in the gameplay, usually giving players more insight into the story and lore of the area. That makes perfect sense, right? If we go into a research outpost and we see a bunch of memos on terminals where they were doing some research and it didn't work out, and that's why this big explosion happened, or that's why they, this creature got out of their holding facility and is now wreaking havoc all over the place where you need to go and help out. So I think that's what it is. And honestly, this is a great way to start kind of building, the world of Starfield, or the universe of Starfield, or the galaxy of Starfield, is little stories, tiny little stories between, I think we've even seen before in Fallout, or maybe I'm thinking of Horizon, but just little cheeky, humorous anecdotes where it's two people emailing back and forth and they're bickering about something so silly. And it doesn't have anything to do with the story, it doesn't have anything to do with the world, but it's just this human moment where, if we're honest, we've all been there, where we're going back and forth with a colleague, whether we're just kind of having fun or, it's professional and we're actually having a disagreement. These little human moments that really start to make this world feel real and believable and lived in. And so I think that's a great addition. Next, mission boards. What she says about mission boards is the mission board also kept us all on our toes, ensuring players had exciting challenges to tackle while exploring the cosmos. So I don't want to dive in too deep into this, but just a couple of things that I think caught my attention. This makes me think that our missions will not simply be, given through dialogue or given through, okay, we land on a place and we find, someone in an outpost and like, hey, can you go, take care of these creatures that are bugging us at our research facility. There could be literal like mission boards, like a digital mission board that you go up to in a city or some sort of settlement, and people have just kind of posted like these help wanted signs, right? I'm thinking of like The Witcher right now in my head, where you just go and say, okay, I have some time on my hands, or I want to explore this place further. I might as well get some credits for it. I might as well get some experience if I just want to go exploring. And so like as you go, you can complete these missions for these people who've kind of posted these help wanted signs up there on the mission board. And that may seem like, okay, well, that's nothing too big, but a lot of games would simply just kind of put this in the menu, right? Or they would just kind of put this in some sort of like, hey, here's an incoming message from someone, and they just kind of put it in your menu, your data menu. But I like the fact that they've taken the time to design this mission board. They've taken the time to place it in intentional places around settlements and around cities. And these are things that you can actually go to, again, kind of immersing you more into this believability of Starfield, that this place is real. These places are real, and these people are real, and they need my help. Lastly, faction storylines. Now, I have an unpopular opinion here, okay? Unpopular opinion. I'll probably dive into this later in like another video, but I actually think that Bethesda main story missions, main storylines, are good. I actually think they're good. I like them. Now, I know a lot of people, the general sentiment is that, main storylines aren't great. It's the side storylines that are where you pick up the best stories or the best storytelling. And while I definitely agree with the fact that there's great stories that can be told in the storylines and the different factions usual, I think the main story is always good. But this gives us just a little glimpse into those faction storylines to know that, one, these are going to not be short, little, isolated moments, These are most likely storylines that are going to carry you through a lot of the game, if not the entire game, alongside, kind of parallel to the main story. Let's read what Jamie said about these faction storylines. Lately, I've been diving deep into the quest lines of all the different factions, and I've been pleasantly surprised by the incredible variety in their storylines. It's like unlocking a treasure trove of captivating narrative that many folks might not even realize exist. While some may rush through the main Golden Path storyline, those intrepid explorers who venture off the beaten path and delve into the faction quest are in for a real treat. Jamie continues, the amount of content packed into these faction storylines is truly astonishing. It's like embarking on a grand adventure within an adventure where every choice you make and every interaction you have shapes the course of the tale. The character development, the plot twists, the moral dilemmas, I've been completely hooked. These quests offer a chance to delve deeper into the game's rich lore and uncover hidden gems that add layers of depth and excitement to the overall experience. Now, that definitely sounds like a very curated marketing kind of paragraph there, but at the same time, it still gets me excited. Specifically, I want to go back to what she said about character development. The character development, the plot twists, the moral dilemmas, I've been completely hooked. I'm really big on character development. If a great movie has a great plot, a great idea, a great hook, great visual effects, but the characters don't change somehow, or they don't grow, or they don't overcome something, I feel like it's a bit lackluster to me. That's really big for me for some reason. And I know everybody kind of has their own preferences, but that's a big preference of mine. I want to see these characters grow in some way. And again, traditionally in Bethesda games, we haven't been able to see a lot of character development in any of the main quests lines or the faction story quest lines. And so it makes me excited that is something she specifically noted here, that our characters are going to develop, they're going to grow, they're going to change. I hope that is something of consequence, something substantial, that maybe even reacting to the decisions that you make, we can see some growth in those places, and that maybe even we as the player character can help in that growth, that because of our decisions, we're helping this person become a better person, or we're leading them down a darker path of cynicism or violence, maybe, if we choose to go that route in our play. So in conclusion, hearing all of these things from Jamie makes me so excited for all of the things we haven't even seen yet. I know we felt like we were kind of drinking from a fire hose, right, at the Starfield Direct, and we've done so many breakdowns. We're like, how can there be anything else in this game? But this game is going to be huge. It's going to be massive. As Todd said in the Direct, they haven't even showed us everything, and we get a little glimpse into what they haven't showed us here. And I imagine there are countless more systems and polish and really cool ideas that we haven't seen yet. And so, gosh, just almost a month left to go, a little under a month left to go for early access. Guys, we are in for a treat. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you. If you've enjoyed this video, hit that like button. That would mean a lot to me. That helps other Starfield fans find our more thoughtful and engaging content. And if you've really enjoyed yourself, hit that subscribe button. We would love for you to join our crew. It's as easy as hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell for notifications. You can also join our Discord, where we have ongoing back and forth conversations about all things Starfield. Thank you to our patrons and our YouTube channel members for all the support they give. Again, if you're interested in that, you can hit that join button on the channel page. You can check out Starfield Signal merch on our YouTube page as well. Hit that store tab. You can get shirts, hats, mugs, all different kinds of cool things. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. Starfield is just weeks away from launch. While the Starfield Direct and several other videos from Bethesda have given us a good look at what Starfield has to offer, there are still lots of questions that many fans have. Digging back through some old interviews with Todd Howard, I noticed a theme.
Tone. You go back to tone. That goes back to a tone thing.
We spent a lot of time on tone.
What the heck does he mean by tone? Let me explain. Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield. A quick note, I'm doing another Starfield community video where I feature you, so stick around after the credits of this video to hear more. Yes, Todd Howard seems to talk a lot about tone. He mentioned it so much in his interview with Lex Friedman that Lex actually answered his own question.
They are fundamentally different.
They all have their own tone. Yeah, so Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 intentionally a very different tone.
Oh, really?
So what exactly does Todd mean by this? Well, let's watch this extended clip where he clarifies a bit.
Let's even step back, because you mentioned tone. You mentioned tone a lot. What do you mean by tone?
It's all of it together. If you look at, I think you can flip through, let's just take fantasy. You know, you can sort of look at a couple images or things and know, how does Lord of the Rings different from Game of Thrones, that is different than Arthurian like Excalibur, or your Sci-Fi Channel, series of the month.
This makes perfect sense. I definitely get a different feeling watching the first 10 minutes of Fellowship of the Ring than you get in the first 10 minutes of Game of Thrones. And as you go deeper into those worlds, the more unique and specific their tone becomes. So how does Howard intend for Starfield to set itself apart in its tone?
Finding that, what's going to make it kind of unique, and usually I lean on something that is grounded in reality for what it is, and then have lesser kind of fantastical things, at least at the start, and then they kind of build. So even when we do Starfield, I mean, it's a science fiction game. There are laser guns and spaceships that fly around and shoot each other and blah, 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 blah. But it's grounded in, you can look at it and say, oh, okay, this is kind of an extension of things as we view them today in space.
So we can definitely expect for Starfield to feel grounded in our current reality, meaning that our history, our technology, the ambitious spirit of humanity are all starting ingredients for Starfield to begin building its realistic and believable setting.
That it has some grounding in our reality, whether that's historical or near future, or that it's grounded in some semblance of the reality that you and I understand, so that it can feel, it's also making it feel a little bit welcoming.
If tone is this important to building a brand new IP and launching a game that will most likely be played by millions of players for over a decade or more, how can we expect tone to practically affect gameplay?
That goes back to a tone thing, right? When you actually play the game, because it's a game, like, we don't really kill you when you fly out in space. But it has a tone of, there's some effort involved, and we've dialed it back as we've been making the game, whereas we used to run out of fuel. You jump and get stranded, which on paper was it's a great moment when you get stranded and you have to press this beacon and you don't know who's going to come. Turns out that's not it just stops your game. We found you'd be playing the game and I ran out of fuel. Okay, I guess I'll just wander these planets trying to mine for fuel so I can get back to what I was doing. It just, it's a fun killer.
I actually really love this idea that spaceflight is dangerous. While I'm glad they tested the fuel system he mentions and eventually dialed it back so it doesn't kill you and, stop the fun, we can see and hear some other examples of this. Listen to this clip from the Starfield showcase in 2022 when we get in our ship for the first time. And I'm actually going to cut the video feed to black here so it's not a malfunction, but this will help draw out the sounds. And one more time with the video off. And now with the video on. This is such a small but impressive detail to hear these pops and creaks and pings, almost like you're flying your dad's old bicycle into space. This doesn't sound like the kind of pristine, well-oiled, and more importantly, airtight sealed futuristic spaceships we usually see in movies or games. This is one example of how we see tone play out in Starfield. Another example is how we see all of the different parts, systems, elements, and themes come together to create a singular, holistic experience. Todd mentions this is such a big task for the kind of games they like to create that they actually spend quite a bit of time in this part of development.
And then you kind of have a final 6 months to a year on a game, which is, okay, we've built everything now. And usually it needs a lot of glue, where we have a lot of very different elements that maybe aren't clicking together the way you want outside of the regular polish for levels and features. And we're shaving and gluing and sticking things together so that it's not this schizophrenic game experience that things flow from one into another.
This glue, as he calls it, is such a big deal. Without it, we really would feel like we're playing 5 different games, and at best, this would create a confusing and disjointed experience. But at worst, this would create a lot of frustration for the player, causing them to potentially quit playing altogether. So, what's one of the key ways that Todd and his team make everything in Starfield fit together so seamlessly? Well, to put it simply, they want to create a host within the game that is going to gently guide you into the different systems and through the story and the worlds.
The skill system and the interface is the party host. If you think about a game, most games, particularly what I like to do, is that's your person who says, welcome, do this, go here, check this out. And the skill system and the way it reacts on the HUD, the interface of the game, is sort of leading you to the next thing. And once you get that flow down and the rate at which the game is giving you activities, then you're in like what we describe as a game flow. It's not till really that last year. Before that, the game flow is it doesn't even exist in the way that you see it in the final game.
As gamers, we all know how great this feels when we get into this flow state where everything is just clicking and the moment-to-moment elements of switching between combat to crafting to exploration all feels effortless and natural. And speaking of exploration, I think this is going to be a crucial part of Starfield's overall tone and the unique experience it gives players, contrasted against the Fallout and Elder Scrolls games.
And then when you get to Starfield and science fiction, same sort of thing where if you were to open it up and you could do anything, how are we providing that experience? And we love exploration, so when you get into a game like this, that's why people say, why do you have 1,000 planets? Because we'd rather give you the option to do that than say no.
Yeah. And Todd Howard interestingly remarks that other space exploration games are less of an influence than you would think, but looks to more immersive experiences that really make you feel like you're in a different place and time.
Those other games that are science fiction, I think you might look at and say, okay, this is science fiction, it's like that. I think the minute, obviously on the ground, it has similarities to Elder Scrolls and Fallout and the things that we've made and how it feels in your hands or some certain mechanics. But believe it or not, it's the games that put you in a world, that transport you to a place. So I think it probably also as a flow probably has more of a feeling of like a Red Dead 2, right? Like I'm living the Western fantasy.
Yeah.
And so in this, you're living this science fiction explorer fantasy, and sometimes that's being on a barren planet and nothing is going on. For me, it's games that where I feel I am rooted in the reality of this universe of the game, and everything else kind of disappears.
A quick 9-second break before the rest of our video. If you're enjoying the video, hit that like button for me. If you're not already subscribed, consider doing that and joining our Signal crew, and check out the store tab on our YouTube channel for some Signal merch. With all this in mind, and knowing that Starfield has been in full production for almost 8 years, it would be a reasonable concern to wonder if Starfield is too big or has too many systems or too many different moving parts. Todd candidly addresses these concerns.
It's a very large game. Obviously, there's a lot to it. It can be complicated at times. And we have found, though, that the gaming audience, particularly our fans, they want to have all those options. And I do think more than anything we've done, I really believe this, that the more you give to Starfield, the more it gives back to you. And that was one of our goals.
The more you give to Starfield, the more it gives back. Well, gamers around the world are weeks away from giving countless hours of their time, attention, energy, and creativity to Starfield. So I, for one, can't wait to see what Starfield has in store for my story. Thank you for watching, and thank you to all of the patrons and YouTube channel members who support the channel. Now for more info on the Starfield community video. Similar to what we did before the Starfield Direct, I'll make a compilation video of everyone's thoughts and upload it here on the channel for the world to see. So here's what you need to do. Make a video telling me what you are most excited about for Starfield. Bonus points if it's something other than shipbuilding, because I know that's a big one for all of us. Just take a vertical selfie video with your phone. It can be real simple and casual. Try to keep it under 30 seconds, and then upload it to YouTube, and then post that link in the Discord forum that I'll link in the description and pinned comment for this video. I'm excited to hear from all of you. Thank you so much for being a part of the Signal crew. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. So Tim, you're saying this is all a dream.
It could be all a dream.
We're gonna be to the end of Starfield and we wake up. Oh
my goodness.
There would be riots in the street. Welcome to Starfield Signal, the place for everything Starfield. I am your friend Luke, and I'm actually here with another friend today. Tim from RPG RX is here with us, and I'm just going to give the floor to Tim for a moment. Tim, introduce yourself to us.
Hey there, Luke. Nice to meet you all. I am so fortunate to be here. My name is Tim. I am a pharmacist, and the only reason that's relevant is because it's the inspiration for my channel, RPG RX. Hopefully give you guys some interesting perspectives on some of the scientific details I've picked up on Starfield, because, man, ever since this game started becoming announced, of course, I was a Bethesda fan before that, so I was intrigued day one, but they started talking about pharmacology research and Aurora being a drug that changed the landscape of neon. Like, you know, these are all really interesting stuff for me, obviously, as a pharmacist background. And I just want to be able to share this kind of perspective with all of you.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating, Tim. And, you know, I've said it before here on the channel, but I love how Starfield brings people together, how video games bring people together from all different ages and walks of life and cultures and professions as well. And so, and I'm sure your mother is like very proud as well. Like, oh, my boy is now, you know, a pharmacist, but he's using his powers for video games.
Yeah, you know, that's definitely something. It's like, oh yeah, this is why you got your degree, huh?
Absolutely. No,
but
it's more than just a white coat standing behind a high wall.
Yes, it's also one standing behind an Xbox.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Well, you know, the first thing I wanted to talk about, everybody, is this is really interesting. So we're all familiar with this six-limbed kind of creature that has been stalking us in the kind of behind the scenes of the Starfield showcase back in June of 2022. We got a good look at this thing back then in the Crete facility, but we also got a really good look at it too in the Starfield Direct that happened in June of 2023. And this thing looks nasty. And I had kind of a wild theory about this, and I was talking with Tim about this earlier, and I was like, "Do you think I'm an idiot here or not?" He's like, "Well, I've heard this before too." So my theory is that maybe this creature, this nasty six-legged creature, and I'll put some footage up on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. But maybe this is like the maggot maws we've seen. Remember the hunting maggot maw that we're kind of chopping up with an axe in one of the Starfield Direct clips? There's also a bunch of little ones that we got a little bit of a glimpse at. We saw a bunch of eggs and everything. What if this creature is, you know, the maggot maws are kind of the larval form, larva form. People make fun of me the how I say things all the time. But you know, maybe I know one of the driving main story issues of Starfield is about human civilization, right? The human settlements, that they're at risk somehow.
Human settlements throughout the galaxy could be at risk.
Maybe this creature is coming to our little side of the galaxy and has started to infiltrate or infestate, maybe is a better word, the human settlements. And people are turning into these things, and maybe the mature version is this six-legged creature we've seen. So what kind of what do you think of that? Maybe like an Aliens kind of vibe, right? If you think back to
my gosh, yes,
Sigourney Weaver, Aliens, the popping out of the the chest thing.
So totally. I mean, I think that it would be a disservice to make a space game with all that's going on and not like provide that kind of alien horror.
Right.
So, so yeah, no, I think so. I've got a couple, thoughts on this maggot maw creature and the creature we saw in Crete. First of all, I don't know that they're the same, but what we can tell, they've got at least thematic similarities. But obviously, that creature in the Crete lab is something that they had up on the whiteboard, and you can see a lot of that up on my YouTube channel to see more details on that whiteboard. I go way into that. But the thing that's interesting about that is, there's these tumors that they're trying to extract from it and analyze, and you're not really sure why, and maybe we'll figure that out. But to think about this as some sort of this cancerous creature that has some sort of reproductive abilities that is interesting enough to set up a whole lab for, I think that's where you start to wonder why is it so interesting? Maybe it's because you've got this problem, this galactic plague of sorts. Maybe it's something like the Halo flood, where these creatures are just going around and they're infecting people. I mean, we certainly see evidence of disease creatures in the direct or even in the last showcase last year, where they have disease in front of their name. And I think you pointed out in some of your videos too, Luke, where people have symptoms showing up on their little compass. So who's to say that these guys aren't planting eggs in us when we fight them? I don't know. I will say though, some of the clips we've seen of them, they're pretty aggressive. They're smashing people into the floors, and seems to be doing the same to some of these bigger monsters out there too. So maybe these are the late stage guys that are doing a lot of damage, and then the maggot moths are sort of like those larval stage, like you're saying. It's totally possible. I can see that.
It looks like this creature is in New Atlantis almost. Okay, yeah, right there. I mean, in the 22 showcase, we just saw it kind of like hopping down a corridor, and it was freaky enough. But here, like boom, and all that blood flies up.
Oh my god! And we were like fighting that thing with a pistol in that Crete lab too.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
that's
sure.
right.
And so I'm like, man, look at the firepower going off in this screen. Like, I don't know.
And one thing I'm noticing, do you have any thoughts on this, Tim? It looks like there's kind of some red stuff, kind of that may be like blood splatter, but here it looks like there's some red stuff kind of all around this. Do you think that's blood splatter or some sort of chemical reaction happening in this beast?
So I think it's a interesting looking thing. When you even look at the whiteboard, you can see there's sort of almost like pauldrons on some of its limbs, and then there's some parts that look less like maybe there's like carapace on parts of it, and then more fleshy organic flesh exposed in other parts.
Yeah.
Maybe that's like a weak point thing where we can shoot them in the right spot and they'll take more damage. Who knows? But definitely, I think there's like the bony shells on the forearms, and then there's a little bit more like fleshy underneath there. And that could be just as a result of how these things are made or created. We see even like if we're looking at the Crete lab too, they have these little tumor masses in display cases, and they look like they're kind of hard, but maybe when they spread out, they've got the weak underbelly. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, and let's talk a little bit more about the Crete lab and the stuff with the tumors that you talked about a lot in your first video.
Yes. So yeah, it just, for those who haven't seen the video, just kind of a preview. The Crete lab is one of those places where Todd says, "Oh yeah, this is one of the early missions in the game where you're going to go to," and you see the player kind of do the gameplay showcase through all of that, and you get these hints that there's something going on. There's some research going on, and I think that's where we see this creature in the first place. The whiteboard is something that, like, when the player gets the little Equinox rifle, they kind of look up and they see this thing, and so it's pretty clear that they want you to see that whiteboard.
Right.
As compared to some of the whiteboards.
But no one except you knew what it was.
So yeah, there's plenty of people who took the time to look at the words on this thing, but it's hard to piece it all together because
Right.
first of all, the words are blurry, and your 4K video actually helped me get some better resolution on that. So thank you very much.
Good. I'm glad.
And that allowed me to kind of piece together. Oh yeah, there are some molecules on the screen here that kind of give me a better sense of what's going on, and they're DNA molecules. And so you see
Okay.
the ATGC of DNA, adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. And there's actually a little bit of an error on this whiteboard. You can see it says experimental analysis of selected clone cell. And there's a couple steps to this, right? There's heterogeneous cells to be extracted from captured specimens. So clearly this is something that the scientists have captured on Crete and they're looking at it. And they're looking at these cells, and there's something called tumor growth in the middle for step 2. And they're making this weird looking mass kind of over on the right. And at the end of the day, they're looking at the DNA on this because tumor growth implies cancer. These DNA mismatches can cause cancer. So I think that's why they're looking at it so closely. It's just that the color coding on this is a little off.
And to go back to kind of that original crazy theory, I feel like that mass on the right after the step 2 resembles those little baby maggots, maggot moths that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's not far-fetched to think that, because I think there's even a shot in the direct where we see one of the little ones walking around, and there's all sorts of stuff all over the walls.
That's what I'm thinking about.
I feel like that definitely checks out with that environment. And I think that this is what we see also in the glass display case earlier on in this section.
Okay.
So, and this is awesome. You're actually giving me probably the best resolution I've personally seen on this. So,
oh, great.
So yeah, no, I think this has got to be related to that thing somehow. And I think again, this could be a maggot mob egg. Like we saw a couple things that look like that up in their layers. But yeah, they were like the guys that were looking at this were studying it before you come in and end their life. So
right.
So this is a lab which I was looking, and I was in love with Aurora since the very first Neon Location video. So when this popped up on the screen, I was like, oh boy, we actually get to see the thing. So, but yeah, so we got this lab where these guys are wearing hazmat suits. They've got all this, it seems like chemical manufacturing facility behind them. And they've got these crates of this Aurora, which is supposedly this pleasure drug that people are coming from all over to see, but it's illegal everywhere else. And Xenofresh seems to be making this on mass, despite all that. And they've got these fish hanging up in the room too, which is just interesting to see that they are still actively extracting probably the chemical from these fish.
Right. They haven't found a way.
This product.
Yeah, they haven't found a way to what would you call that?
Synthesize.
Very
interesting.
So why
they figured out meat, but they can't figure out this drug, I guess.
Why do you think that might be with like a typical psych? And one question I have, and I don't want to interrupt you, but
yeah,
could you explain the difference between a psychedelic drug and a psychotropic drug? Or is it kind of like one is an umbrella and there's others? And I Googled this.
That's
3 or 4
exactly right.
times,
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand what the difference was.
No, you're totally right. And honestly, there's no dictionary that's going to give you an amazing answer. But yeah, psychotropic, anything that basically affects your mind. So your antidepressants, your stimulants, whatever else that affects your mind, caffeine and alcohol and all that good stuff. They're all psychotropic because they affect your mind. And psychedelic, I don't think there's a 100% confirmed definition for psychedelic, other than that it's usually associated with hallucinations and the things that psychedelic drugs do. And those are typically, your LSD, your ketamine, MDMA to some degree. So all these kinds of drugs can kind of produce these hallucinogenic effects. So you're seeing things that aren't there. You're hearing things that aren't there, and sometimes you're feeling things. Your escalated emotions too. And so I think that this is just a pleasure drug that's capitalizing on all of that kind of a high, where you've got these vibrant neon lights going on. You've got the music dancing with those fish people, and which I think is probably the next frame, right? Like,
yes. These guys.
yeah.
Is
This
that
is
your first
exactly
role
it.
play, Tim, right there?
Oh my goodness. I got to get that suit on immediately. So yeah, no, this is interesting because I think this is kind of the vibe that they're going for when you're taking
Right.
Aurora.
So it's
And
very recreational. There's not really, or we don't see any
that's
medicinal applications of it in this direct.
and it's not impossible that is the case, but they but that's definitely the vibe we're getting from this, and the fact it's illegal everywhere else. But so yeah, with that, I think you can safely assume that this drug is something that they've pulled out of these fish, and there's
Yeah.
not really a better way to get this kind of a high, is my guess. Even with all their synthetic abilities in this future, it's a recreational drug. If they're
Yes.
getting for a certain kind of high that they clearly can't replicate other than by getting it out of the fish themselves. Although,
Right.
if you watch my video, I kind of make the argument that they have all this kind of machinery for a reason. I think they are taking the chemical from the fish and they're actually altering it. So, like you can
Okay.
do certain amount of synthesis to a product, and that's why it's semi-synthetic, I believe.
Okay.
But the
Which may
base
be
of
why
it
it's
is
illegal.
could be. It actually that's a very astute point. I think, maybe the actual addition of certain moieties of that chemical could be the reason why it's producing these kind of highs and stuff like that.
Okay.
So great point.
And was it you, or I might have heard it in a different video? Did you make the point where, we see we see various different fish
Yeah.
on here, where maybe they've found out how to extract the Aurora chemical out of the predators of the Aurora fish? Is that
Yes.
right? You're talking about the potential of maybe them harnessing this element or synthesizing it out of the original. I'm butchering this. Talk. I'm butchering that. So
Yeah, no,
bad.
so
Oh,
no worries. Yeah, no, I was just making the point that the fact that they have both this industrial equipment and the fish in the lab
yes.
means that they're probably taking the base chemical out of the fish and they're adding something to it semi-synthetically through the lab procedure.
Yeah.
And I think you had just brought up the point where basically we don't know why there's several fish hanging up in this.
Right. Multiple different types.
Right. And there's small fish, there's slightly bigger fish, and then there's a different color fish going on in this one room. And this theory is that one of them creates aurora and the other ones are kind of feeding off that. So maybe
Right.
that's why they have all these fish up, because they're cutting the aurora out of all of these fish, because the predator of the
Mhm.
aurora fish probably has aurora in it if it eats enough of it. So
Right.
that's at least one theory to explain why there's different fish going on in this one lab. But who knows? Maybe it's just one fish, and I'm wrong about that. But it's interesting.
I think it's a great theory. And real quick, I don't want to steal too much thunder from your very well produced video that you did, but maybe share just a brief summary of there's something in real life that we have here on our planet
Oh, yes.
that may have been the inspiration for Aurora.
Yes, because you never know how alien our own oceans are, right? And we have something
That's a cool thought. I've never that kind of blows.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second, how alien our own oceans are. That's cool.
Yeah, no, we've explored less of our oceans than we have of the moon's surface, basically.
Yes.
I mean, obviously not like physically, but it's so anyway. But this one, there's a fish out there that's been dubbed the dream fish. I think it's Sarpa salpa, and it's in the Mediterranean. It's actually caught frequently by fishermen and eaten. But they know to kind of avoid this one fish because it causes a lot of interesting phenomenon. And I think the Romans actually ate it. And I'm not sure exactly what account that they used to base that off of. But basically what this fish does is it gets you in a really weird headspace. Few hours after eating it, you get dizzy, confused, blurry vision, a lot of uncomfortable side effects. But you also get these strange hallucinations, visual hallucinations, where this one guy saw animals while he was driving
Yeah.
outside, and they were like screaming at him. And there's like, he literally said isopods, which I think is just bizarre that you would put that in a medical report. Oh yeah, the patient hallucinated the isopods.
Right.
And anyway, so he went to the hospital, and after, I don't know, 36 hours he was fine. But it wasn't just this guy. There was other reports too. I think it was an older guy. He happened to see a lot of birds and people screaming at him too. And a lot of these are very
That's
uncomfortable
wild.
hallucinations.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
these are
yeah,
not
it's
joy
auditory,
rides
it's
that they're
visual.
on. This wouldn't be like a fun recreational thing. These is like kind of night terrors almost.
They are a lot like night terrors, yeah. And maybe they alter the chemical to make it more pleasurable. That's one
Hmm.
reason they might be semi-synthetic. And also
Oh,
maybe
oh,
that's,
interesting.
yeah, I mean that's purely conjecture, but that could be one thing, is they're making it more pleasurable in the lab so that they're having a better trip.
Yeah.
And when you go to the Astral Lounge, you see ads for Aurora, and they say, the best trip in the settled systems. And again, I
Right.
think a lot of, if you've ever taken hallucinogens, they are probably best taken in the right environment to facilitate a good trip.
Sure.
So I think that's what this whole thing is set up on, the basis that you can have a bad trip. And so that would be interesting too, if gameplay wise, if we have a bad trip versus a good trip. I wonder if
Right.
there's a distinction that we can make there.
And I know it was like at the in the trailer that we got in the Xbox showcase, so not in the direct, but in the trailer, we specifically see several clips where it kind of has that like chromatic aberration, like kind of that glowy effect on it,
Yeah.
where a lot of people assume that maybe this is you on Aurora, like this is your brain on drugs kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the skillet, this is you on Aurora.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Would that, as far as like the effects of a psychotropic drug, does that seem like it would track with that? Let me see if I can pull that up. This is like right at the very end. So we touched the,
Oh,
who
yes.
knows, they edited it, but you kind of see all this chromatic aberration here. Like
Yeah.
the reds and greens and hues and blues. But like even right here, it looks like, kind of almost like you have beer goggles on, right?
Yes.
Everything's a little blurry.
I think that's a really interesting observation, actually. I never made a correlation between this specific effect and Aurora, but it totally checks out because, and drugs.
Even there.
Yeah. So prescription drugs can actually cause some color distortion too. So
Okay.
Viagra, right?
Yes.
There's something called green shift, or is it blue shift? No, I think it's blue shift.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically blue shift, there's a side effect of Viagra where you can actually start seeing things in a more blue shade.
Interesting.
And so like when you think about drugs affecting the shade of a color, I think that totally checks out.
And so that would have to, like was it the cones or rods in your eyes that affect your color?
Both, yeah, exactly.
Both. Okay, yeah.
Yep. And so I think you're right on with that, and it's really just a matter of whether or not this is like a hallucinatory effect versus like
just
some
a
shift
cinematic
with your cinematic effect, or if it's like a sensory, like it could be affecting your eye or it could be affecting your brain. And so there's two ways where this could actually be the case due to pharmaceuticals. So yeah, that's a great observation. And yeah, hallucinations like this, not uncommon. And even this right here, like you've showed this kind of like out of the universe scope experience. You definitely have people who experience those either out of body, or they kind of just feel like one with the universe, or they're just
right.
in another dimension they describe, which is could explain a lot of what we see with like speculations about the universe, and maybe this is an effect of Aurora. Maybe we're seeing the visions through
so
Aurora.
Tim, you're saying this is all a dream.
It could be all a dream.
We're gonna be to the end of Starfield and we wake up. Oh
my goodness.
There would be riots in the street.
There would be. Jeez.
Just a quick note here. This is a shorter version of a longer conversation that Tim and I had. We probably had about an hour long, maybe a little bit shorter conversation where Tim dives into a lot of other little details and makes some really interesting observations from those. So if you want to see that full-length video, you can head over to Tim's channel. He'll have that up soon, if not right now. And you can check that out at youtube.com/@RPGRX. I'll have the link in the description. Show him a little love from the Starfield Signal community. Go over there, give him a view, a like, a comment, and let him know we appreciate his time and expertise, and it's good to have him on the crew. Well, Tim, thank you so much for joining us here on Starfield Signal on the channel. I hope all of you have enjoyed this talk where hopefully I asked a few halfway intelligent questions, and Tim was very hospitable to share his intellect and his intelligence and his education and perspective with us. I'm just so excited for this game, and this is such a neat, angle to kind of look at this, to look at Starfield from. So, Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Luke. It's been a pleasure being on your channel. And honestly, I'm no smarter than the rest of you guys. You guys are just as observant as I am. I'm just connecting a few dots because this is what I work in, day out. So,
That's
but
cool.
I'm definitely looking forward to sharing more with you guys. And I love what you're doing here, Luke. So I'll be sure to keep watching.
I love that. Tim, where can people go to kind of show you some love?
Yes. So RPGRX. Just those 5 letters. You'll hopefully find me on YouTube if I'm popular enough to be up on the search page. But yeah, no, I think that's probably the best way to go find me on YouTube. I'm not on any other platform at the moment, so just
Awesome.
make sure you subscribe, and then you'll get my videos.
YouTube's the best, absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for watching. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. See ya.
My first thought was they've overused God rays too much, but it's cinematic. So
Okay.
I will let them off on that one.
Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield. I'm your friend Luke, and I have a very special guest with us today. I have the modder JJC71, goes by JJ. JJ, thank you so much for joining the Signal crew today to talk about lighting and mods.
Thank you for having me, Luke. It's an honor to be on what is a growing channel, and hopefully you'll go on to great things. I'm sure you will.
I hope so. Thank you. It's very kind of you. And we have an amazing community here. And I know before we kind of started the interview, you were talking about the modding community just being a really great place as well.
It's an amazing community. Yeah. I mean, as I mentioned before, I joined in 2009 on the Nexus, and it's been a great experience. The people on there are genuine, and they really are nice people. And if you can be respectful and earn the trust, they will help you no end. They'll help you learn to mod. They'll help you fix your game, fix any problems you have. And I have friends now who I was introduced to over a decade ago now, and they're still good friends. So yeah, it's a wonderful community.
Awesome. And now just a few kind of accolades for you. So as for the Signal crew, as I was kind of researching for this video that I wanted to do, I just went to Nexus Mods and I typed in lighting, and JJ's was the first mod to come up, and that is the Climates of Tamriel Weather, Lighting, and Audio mod. Is that correct? And this has over 11 million with a 11 million downloads as of today. And I'm sure you're very proud of that. Now, do you work with a team or are you kind of a solo guy with a little bit of help here and there?
Modding wise, it's always been solo. A solo venture. About 2014, 2015, modders got together to form their own dev company to work on a game called Wit and Law. It's really tough making your own game, especially when you have to go to work during the day and then do it in part time. So, it is a difficult thing to get into. But me, I love to mod on my own in my own time.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand sharing with somebody else.
It's obvious that you're very passionate about it and very good at it with over 11 million downloads. And I'm sure you have some other mods out there as well that have done well. But today we are actually going to be talking about lighting in Starfield.
Yes.
And if you've watched the Direct 1,000 times, the Starfield Direct 1,000 times, like I have, one of the first things they showed off, right? They went into that montage of all the beautiful backlit cinematic landscapes, and you just felt like, oh my gosh, how did Bethesda, right? I mean, because we don't play Bethesda games for the graphics, if we're honest. They've never been like a Rockstar, with like Red Dead 2 level graphics or anything like that. And that's not to say they look bad. They're just a different style. They're a different tone. I talked about that in one of my other videos.
Yeah.
But the art direction and the way that they make these worlds feel alive, even without kind of the graphics doing a lot of the heavy lifting like they do in other games, they still create these beautiful places. But I think a lot of people like me were surprised. And so as you, JJ, as you watched that Starfield Direct for the first time or the 20th time, and you saw those beautiful cinematic landscapes with the backlighting and the volumetric fog and all that stuff, what were one of your first thoughts?
My first thought was they've overused God rays too much, but it's cinematic. So I will let them off on that one. But as far as gameplay, I do know it annoys a lot of people when it's overused, the God rays. But cinematically, the worlds look amazing, what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
They're also using global illumination now for the first time. Which really does show everything looks fantastic. So initially, I was really impressed with what they had done. I thought maybe this time they pulled a rabbit out the hat, and they've finally done it. So it's hard to critique a game no one's actually played yet. So I don't really want to be critical of them. But so far, so good with an asterisk.
That's fair. Absolutely. And, I'm curious. So this is obviously like a step up from what we've seen so far from their previous games in Fallout 4 and Skyrim and Fallout 76 and Fallout 3. You work kind of behind the scenes and under the hood, as I say, like in the code and in the creation engine. And so what do you think they've done? If you could just take a guess, what do you think they've done in this creation engine 2 to beef it up a little bit to be able to handle all of this extra processing that I imagine is going on for this lighting to look so good? Yeah,
well, obviously they've added global illumination, which will be like a third-party plugin, which is what they did with God rays. The big step for them, I think, is obviously having so many planets or what's known as world spaces within the creation engine. And I think this is what they've done. There's usually only ever one world space in games like Fallout 3, New Vegas, which obviously was Obsidian, Skyrim, and Fallout 4. And I think what they've managed to do is they've managed to create multiple world spaces. That this is just my guess. And within these world spaces, like Lego, they'll stick things together to form, obviously, planets, because each planet's meant to be unique per player or per playthrough. So whatever they're doing, there's a little bit of magic under the hood that I don't think anyone quite understands just yet. But that's from my experience using the creation engine, that's what I think they've done. But I'll still be fascinated to see what they've done.
That's interesting. You talked about world spaces, and I think one of the things that they talk about I can't remember if it's in the Direct or a different video, but they talk about how different stars that will be in different star systems, different stars, their lighting works a little bit different. And I thought that was really interesting from a technical perspective. Do you think that's them just saying, okay, this is an A style lighting and it's going to bloom like this, or it's going to have more direct feel lighting, or is it kind of a more sophisticated algorithm that's going on?
Um, well, knowing Bethesda and how they work with the creation engine, they will have templates. So they will use
Okay.
templates for various planets. What I'd like to see them do is maybe to bring in that procedural element into the lighting as well, and not just have so
Oh
many
yeah.
stock lighting templates for each planet. Because I think, it might get a little bit tiresome after a while, seeing the same lighting template and the same
Yeah.
clouds and things like that. I hope
Right. Right.
they've managed to maybe mix it up a bit with the actual lighting. But um, one of the things that we spoke about was obviously the lighting, the exterior lighting, which would be your dynamic sun
Yes.
lighting, and obviously there's other directional ambient lighting that goes on. Um, and also they've used God rays again really, really heavily, which doesn't worry me because I
Hmm.
know the modern community will tweak that anyway, so that's not a
Sure. You
problem.
could
But
dial that back if you wanted to.
yeah, yeah. So I think they'll take care of that. But overall, they have done a great job. They have done a great job with it. I
That's
just hope that they manage to fix what I think is an issue is with characters and how they look. They look a
yes,
bit
yeah.
rubbery to me, if I'm being
Yeah,
kind.
that's a good way to say it, and I'll put some footage and some screenshots up as we're talking about this in post. But I agree. One of the things, one of the first things I noticed in the direct was how beautiful the cinematic landscapes look. But then when it kind of got into like the cities and some of the interior shots, like especially in the coffee shop area, I'll
Yeah,
throw a shot there. Um, and then specifically with the NPCs, whenever it's probably like when you're in like the dialogue mode, like think of old Oblivion style, like, oh, you're in this mode now. It almost looks like either they're using different character models or even an entirely new lighting system. And one shot specifically that comes to mind that looks great in that mode is Sarah Morgan whenever she has like the fireplace behind her. I mean, that looks incredible.
yeah,
But then contrast that again to just what looks like they're just kind of in, maybe still in a dialogue mode, but maybe in just kind of open world mode. Sam Coe, that NPC, I mean, he has hardly any detail on his face, looks very rubbery and
yeah.
flat and plastic. The beard looks off. And so I'm not sure if that's the lighting kind of playing tricks on my eyes or if it's the character model just has lower texture there. What do you think's happening there?
Well, yeah. I mean, Sam Coe is a great example. That one scene where he's looking out and there's no definition
Mhm.
in his skin or his face, and his beard just looks like it's being inked on. There's no
Right.
definition there at all. So, yeah, I
I
mean,
think I
what do I
saw
think's going
somebody on
on?
Reddit say it looked like the little like Magna Doodles. Is that right? The
Yeah,
Magna Doodles where you like put
yeah,
on
exactly. Yeah,
their mustache or their beard or their eyebrows.
yeah.
Sorry, I
There's
interrupted.
there's no definition there at all, and the the definition shader wise will be coming from the dynamic light, and that's been bleached
Okay,
out.
so that is
Particularly in
connected.
that shot, it's completely bleached out. And again, from my experience using the creation engine, they've gone heavy on the directional ambient lighting.
Okay,
Now that works. You have north, east, southwest, up, down. So it's an additional ambient lighting, other than obviously the directional lighting which come from the sun. And I think what they've
right.
done, they've gone heavy on the directional lighting, which is just bleached out completely the skin
Hmm.
tones. So what you're getting is
Okay.
obviously this effect of no definition and no detail. It
Hmm.
looks almost just like rubber,
Right.
and it doesn't look
Like
very
baby
pleasant, to be
skin.
honest. And I mean, indoors it's a little bit better with the exterior. It's like the interior light. It's a bit better, but the face textures still look a bit rubbery and a bit plasticky.
Yeah.
And
S-
I'm sure modders will overcome that, but at the same time,
mhm.
I think they could have done a little bit better with the skin textures. Is a little bit more
Right.
realistic looking. And but besides
And
that,
that
yeah,
that actually gives me a little more hope that maybe this is an easy fix and it may even be updated by the time we get our hands on Starfield. So you think that it's just kind of all this light is it's too much. And so if they dial that back just a little bit for these specific scenes, maybe that could let the texture in the character models that's already there start to kind of shine through, or start to give that contrast and give that shape and texture.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it'll be modders who will fix these things, and it's no surprise.
Okay.
No surprise to us. We will fix them. And sometimes I think Bethesda, they leave things like this, so we'll fix them and get us interested and invested in the game.
That's
No,
fair.
but
Okay.
yeah, it's hard to say until you actually get the game in our hands and see
Sure.
the final release, because these things might be corrected and fixed in the final release. But they're just concerns at the moment,
Right.
with some of the things that I've seen, particularly around the NPCs. But there's nothing I know can't be fixed. It's a mod. Nothing's impossible to fix, and
Yeah.
it will be done.
And my next question kind of leans into that a little bit. Whenever you do get your hands on a game, of course, who knows about Creation Engine 2, but we could assume that it will be similar to Creation Engine 1 that you've worked in.
Yeah.
Is it, what's that technical process like for you? Is it just to kind of get into the engine, get into the game, and start to kind of move dials around and play with settings? Or do you kind of have a game plan of like, okay, well, I know exactly what I'm going to do when I get in there? What does that look like for you?
I mean, most modders will be rather selfish, so there'll be something in the game they don't like, or something they would like to see, and that's usually where most modders will start. So for me personally,
Okay.
it's always been that there's something I've not liked. I remember one time someone said to me, "If you don't like it, then why don't you make your own mod?" And I did, and that's I went on to have 11 million downloads.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Seems like a lot of people
um,
agree with you.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, but technically, I don't purposely go out to start modding. It'll have to be something first that'll
Okay.
get me going, because I know once I do find
Mhm.
something to mod, it'll take up a chunk of my time. So technically, I will plan like any project. I'll plan what I
Mhm.
need to do, how long it's going to take, whether it's too big in scope, or whether I can do it or not. And it does. It takes a lot of planning to make it work. A real lot of plan to make it work. And I don't think people who download mods and use mods sometimes don't appreciate the amount of effort and time that goes
Yeah.
into what is basically a free product. It's an extension to the game. But yeah, it takes a lot of planning and a lot of time, and a lot of modders
Right.
tend to start and never stop because they overreach in what they want to do. And I think that's the
Sure.
real skill to it, is knowing what you're capable of doing and whether you
Mm.
can fulfill it and push it out in the end. So yeah, I mean, I've just learned that now myself with doing more mods. It does take a lot of planning.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. And once you find something that kind of piques your interest, or you find that you're passionate about, and you start designing and you start tweaking and you start changing things, I can't imagine how complex game development is. Let
Yeah.
alone trying to balance. If you want to change the lighting, well, does that affect? Are you taking memory from something else, or does that take up more processing power? And do you just, as a modder, think, well, PC players are playing this, so they got a bunch of overhead, so I'm not going to worry about that? Or do you find yourself having to be like, okay, well, that's too much. I need to dial that back so more people can enjoy this. How do you kind of go through that balancing process as you're looking into these mods?
Well, it's really important to, obviously, if you're going to do a big mod, then you tend to really try to read the room. So you're reading through forums, you're seeing what people, if people agree with what you think is wrong or what could be improved. And so that's the initial first step as well. If I'm going to do this, is it going to be appreciated? Is it going to be used?
Right.
Is it going to improve the game, etc.? And then once you fire up the creation engine, then that's it. Then you've opened up Pandora's box, basically, and
Right.
away you go. And yeah, it's like a drug. Once you start, you can't stop. For me personally, Once I start, I can't stop. And
Mhm.
after that, it's just iteration after iteration, tweaking, new
Right.
things to learn about the engine. Then you'll go ahead and you'll do that. Scripting is another big part of modern. Bethesda use Papyrus scripting, and that often
Mhm.
updates each game title they introduce. So yeah, you often have to learn the scripting as well. It is a really big,
Right.
it's a big commitment to modders. So yeah, don't ever criticize a modder anyone because they put in a lot of hard work to produce those
Yeah,
things that you download and enjoy.
absolutely. And do you get to do this full time at this point, or do you still kind of have a day job, as they say?
Yeah, I'd love to do it full time, but unfortunately, it's not worked out that way. So at the moment, it's just spare time.
Mhm.
And in my spare time, I will, I do it for the fun of it, nothing more. I've just finished working 16 months on a mod for Fallout 4, which I won't plug
Oh
on this
wow.
channel, because it's rude to do
No,
so. Weathers and Wonders, it's
uh,
called. It's great.
we'll
Um,
take time for it right at the end. Absolutely.
yeah, so I mean, I've just finished 16 months modding, so
Wow.
someone said to me the day, well, what are you going to do with Starfield? I was like, I'm not even going there right now.
You're just like, I just want to lay down in bed.
I just want to play games again because I haven't played a game in 18 months, which was RDR2, last game I played. But
Yeah.
then I thought, right, Fallout 4, here I come. And I thought, I'm just going
Hmm.
to fix the weather a little bit on Fallout 4. And it'll be 2 weeks and I'll
And
be
down the
done.
rabbit hole you went.
And then there we go, 16 months later, and I'm still haven't played a game for a while. So, yeah, I'm going to get Starfield and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to
I
think
love
about
that.
correcting anything. I'm going to wait till the others do it first. And if no one does it, then I'll probably jump in and have a go.
I love it. I love it. That's something that I really want to stay connected with you. Like to do kind of some post conversations after the release as well. But I'll probably need some advice from you as well, and some encouragement to not worry so much about content creation and just enjoy the game for what it is. I'm
Yeah,
trying to be mindful of that, but I don't yet have a plan as far as like how I'm going to do that. And so it's on my mind, but I don't want to go too far down that slope. Well, I want to respect your time. I have just a couple of questions left. One of them is, if you could ask the lead lighting designer for Starfield any question, what would you ask him?
what would I ask them? I've no idea, Luke. What I would ask them.
Ask him for a job.
Yeah, yeah. Can I have a job, please? Because I can do that. I
That's
don't know
funny.
what to ask them, Luke. Honestly.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I may have someone from Bethesda on the show or on the channel after launch, and so if you think of anything, send me a
Oh, I will.
DM or a message, and
I will.
I'll
Don't
definitely
worry.
hit them up. Well, I kind of led us through a few different things that I wanted to talk about, just as far as and I definitely want to plug your mod, and well, let's just do that now. How can people? What's the best way for people to find you and show you some love? Coming here from the channel and just showing you a little appreciation for
Yeah, sure. So
giving us some
the mod will be
insight.
released on Nexus Mods at the end of
Okay.
this month. It's currently with testers who've been testing it, obviously, and it's doing well. No problems with it at all. It's called Weathers and Wonders, and it's a weather and lighting mod for Fallout
Okay.
4. But there's also a lot of special features in the mod, like earthquakes, auroras,
Ooh.
what
Okay.
else? It's the rainbows, shooting stars, unidentified flying objects, and etc. etc. So it's going to add a ton
Oh,
of
that's so cool.
stuff to Fallout 4, which I hope people will enjoy once it gets released. But once it gets released, I don't want to know about it because I'll be too busy playing
Right.
Starfield. Yeah,
Right. That's the finish line, right? You get it out before Starfield comes.
that's been the plan all along, and I'm panicking now. Yeah, but I will make sure it's out
Oh,
before Starfield. September the 6th is the cut-off date. It'll be out by then. So, yeah, hopefully people will go and have a look and check it out.
And that will be a free mod on Nexus Mods
Yeah,
for Fallout
it'll
4?
be exclusive to Nexus Mod, yeah, and of course,
Okay.
it'll be free to download as always.
Awesome. If people had the means and they want to show you some financial appreciation, what's the best way to do that? Are there tips on Nexus Mod, or what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, we don't ask for money or financial gain or whatever, but there's a donation system on Nexus Mod, so if people want to show their appreciation, be my guest. It always helps having extra coffee, especially when I'll be playing Starfield into the long night.
Yeah, yes. I'm currently trying to find energy drink companies that will sponsor me. So I'm like, I will need it. Is there anything else you want to talk about as far as lighting or Bethesda games or anything in your world?
No, I just hope that Starfield is what we expect it to be, because Fallout 76 was not what we expected it to be, but this has come from Bethesda Game Studios themselves, so we are. The bar is high. We do expect it to be something special, and I'm sure it will be. It'll be an amazing game.
If you had to articulate what your expectations are for Starfield, what would you say?
I think it will be a masterpiece, and I think it will be a once in a generation game. And I say that reluctantly because I'm a huge Red Dead Redemption fan. And I think that was a masterpiece too. But I think Starfield might just push them on this one.
I love it. JJ, thank you so much for your time, for your expertise, for your friendship to the channel. And yes, we hope to stay in touch and follow up after launch and see what you may have cooking in the oven.
Absolutely.
So to speak, after, of course, you get a little rest and you enjoy the game with all of us.
Oh, yes, I intend to. Thanks for having me on, Luke. And best of luck with the channel.
Everyone, absolutely, thank you. Well, everyone who is watching, thank you so much for tuning in for our conversation. I hope that it was insightful and enlightening. Aha, pun. And I hope you had a good time. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield, and let's get right to it. We have some actual new news, some actual updates to go over today. Let's dive right in. Go over to Bethesda.net/game/Starfield. Find the Starfield homepage. You'll come up here and scroll down to the bottom, and here we actually get a timeline of all of the events leading up to Starfield. Now, this is huge, especially if you are a lore nerd like myself. I like to know kind of the story around the story, right? All of the context, especially in a new IP, right? Because they've been developing and been building this idea, this story, this world, this universe for so long, and now we get a glimpse into that. I haven't seen this yet, so I'm going to be experiencing it with you at the same time, and so I'm very excited for this. So the story so far. 2050, humans first arrive on Mars. By 2100, humans are living in space. That is brand new news. We did not know that up until this exact point. That is exciting. Okay, so by 2100, humans are living in space. The first humans arrive on Mars in 2050. So if you're going by our current timeline in our reality, that's 2023. So 27 years from now, if we go into the Starfield universe. Very exciting. What happens after that? 2156, humans arrive in Alpha Centauri, 4.37 light years away from Earth. So just about 100 years after we get to Mars, that is when we arrive in Alpha Centauri. It doesn't tell us when we left for Alpha Centauri, because it's 4.37 light years away, but I'll have to do maybe a follow-up video to play around with some math for all of our nerds in the community, because that we'd have to be traveling pretty fast. So I imagine by that point, faster than light travel exists. All right, let's keep going. 2159, the United Colonies are established, so very quickly after we actually arrive in Alpha Centauri. 2160, New Atlantis is founded and becomes the official capital city of the United Colonies in 2161. Okay. 2167, Cheyenne is settled by Solomon Coe. Oh, okay. This is new information. I'll complete that sentence. Cheyenne is settled by Solomon Coe, who founds its first settlement, Aquila City. Okay, so Cheyenne is the system. That's right. So Cheyenne is the system that Aquila City is in, and we did know that Solomon Coe founded Aquila City. Okay. 2188, Coe invites Volley. So I think it is Volley, not Vol 2, like I've been saying. I was wrong. How many videos am I going to have to say that in? Invites Volley, or Vali, please excuse me, to join Cheyenne in a new alliance. Okay. The Freestar Collective. The Freestar Collective is officially formed in 2189. Let's just kind of pause on this for a second. So let's review. 2050, first humans arrive on Mars. By 2100, humans are living in space. Very cool. 2156, humans arrived at Alpha Centauri. 2159, just 3 years after that, United Colonies are established. Just a year after that, New Atlantis is founded. And 7 years after that, Cheyenne is settled by Solomon Coe, who founded its first city as well, Aquila City. 2188, so about 20 years after that, so Solomon Coe, so we get to space, we start New Atlantis and the United Colonies pretty much back to back. A few years after that, Solomon Coe goes to settle Cheyenne in Aquila City specifically, and then 20 years after that, so we get a little bit of a break in the timeline, where we could imagine turmoil and disagreements, things happen. Coe then invites Volley to join Cheyenne in a new alliance, the Freestar Collective. The Freestar Collective is officially formed in 2189. So Volley is home to Neon. So Neon sounds like it was up and going at this point. Let's keep reading and see if we can get some more information. By 2194, 6 years after the Freestar Collective is founded, the United Colonies positioned the star station called the Clinic in orbit around Dipala in the Nerion system. The unaffiliated peoples of the Nerion system see this as a UC attempt to expand their bodies and demand the UC remove the Clinic. When the UC refuses, the people of Nerion vote to join the Freestar Collective, who mobilize to protect the system in 2195. Okay, let's pause again just a minute. This is really exciting. Remember how in some of our lore speculation videos, we talked about how it's quite possible that the UC represents this kind of imperialistic mindset that they wanted to keep expanding and keep getting bigger and bigger. And here it seems like we get that verified. So very cool, very cool. Let's keep reading. 2196. In response to that Freestar mobilization, the UC moves a fleet into the Nerion system, and Freestar responds in kind. The Nerion War begins. The Nerion War, this is the first time we're hearing about this. The Nerion War begins in 2196 after the UC refuses to remove their clinic, their star station called the Clinic in the Nerion system. Nerion then joins the Freestar Collective, and then the Freestar mobilizes in response to the UC's refusal. The Nerion War begins. So 2216, 20 years after the Nerion War begins. 2216, the Nerion War drags on as public sentiment sours. Finally, the Treaty of Nerion is signed by the UC and Freestar Collective in 2216. First time we're hearing about this. Ending the conflict, the term settled systems is formalized in the treaty. Okay, 2221, 5 years later, the Freestar Rangers are founded as an elite protective and investigative force dedicating to serving all citizens of the Freestar Collective. So after the Freestar Rangers are formed in 2275, just about 54 years after the Freestar Rangers are formed, Constellation is formed by Sebastian Banks. Original members include Chloe Bao, accompanied by physicist Aja Mamasa, the youngest member and Sebastian's protege, Darius Andres, botanist and specialist in xenoflora, Bernadette Laurent, wealthy heiress and adventurer, Everardo Gill, former smuggler, and Kadri Toma, biologist and physician. The Lodge, which is Constellation's headquarters, the Lodge is built in New Atlantis to serve the needs and people of Constellation for generations to come. So this is exciting. We see that 2275 Constellation is formed. We see all the founders here, and Sebastian Banks. I don't know if we've actually heard that name yet. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But then moving on, lots to break down there. I'm going to have to come back to this. Lots to break down. 2305, so just 30 years after the original formation of Constellation, Barrett joins the Constellation. And that's ominously brief compared to everything else here. So maybe Barrett is more important than we realize. Just an intriguing side note there. 2307. The Freestar Collective begins farming on the planet of Vesta in the Lunara system. By 2308, the United Colonies claims that by establishing a colony in a fourth star system, the Freestar Collective has violated the Treaty of Nerion. Diplomatic talks break down, and the UC lays siege to Vesta, killing anyone who stayed behind or was brought in to defend it. The colony war officially begins. This is heating up, guys. Wow. The colony war officially begins in 2307 because the Freestar Collective started farming on another planet, and the UC just didn't want to play ball with them. Didn't want to talk, didn't want to renegotiate. They just thought, okay, we're going to kill everybody here. Very interesting. Very interesting. 2310, 3 years later, Constellation comes into possession of their first artifact and tucks it away in the Constellation archives. So they were formed, Constellation was formed in 2275, finds their first artifact in 2310. So that is 35 years. 5 years after Barrett joins Constellation. Maybe Barrett was the catalyst to Constellation moving in this direction to look for the artifacts. 2311, after several years of conflict, the colony war effectively comes to an end with the Battle of Cheyenne as a flotilla of civilian and military Freestar Collective ships takes down the major ships of the UC Navy using hit-and-run tactics. Very cool. A few years after that, 2315, the UC Vanguard is founded as a part of a UC response to the Freestar Collective's use of civilian ships during the colony war. The Vanguard is the UC's own civilian navy. Okay, we didn't know that yet. Good clarification. Relying on civilians to use their own ships who pledged to protect the United Colonies and its interest. The ultimate reward for this service, citizenship in the United Colonies. Okay, so this calls back to a couple different things. One, in the Starfield Direct, we do see this moment where our player character is engaging with like a Vanguard recruiter, and they do mention something about this could get you your UC citizenship. So we didn't know that, but we didn't exactly have good context for it. And then secondly, we also see in the in one of the little animated shorts that Bethesda put out a couple of weeks ago that this, I forget the name of the character, but he was like a shipping pilot, and he was using his own ship. And so that, again, kind of adds some context to a few things we've already seen. 2319, Sarah Morgan becomes the youngest head of the UC Navigator Corps, though it's a short-lived position as the division is shut down in 2320. Cast adrift, but still eager to put her training to good use, Morgan joins Constellation. So all of that happened within just a few years of each other. 2311, conflict comes to an end. The colony wars come to an end with the Battle of Cheyenne. 2315, UC Vanguard is founded as a response to the Freestar Collective's use of civilian tactics. It's interesting they did that after the war ended, maybe to try to bolster a defense and intimidate the Freestar Collective into not breaking the treaty anymore. Maybe. But yeah, then in 2319, Sarah Morgan, and we haven't seen anything about the UC Navigator Corps yet. Maybe because it's shut down with everything we've seen. We haven't seen anything from before the game timeline yet. So 2319, that's shut down, the Navigator Core. And Sarah Morgan transitions into Constellation. Just a couple years after that, 2321, Walter Stroud, co-owner of Stroud Uckland, one of the Settled Systems' premier starship manufacturers. That was another thing we got right. I'm excited. We got a couple things right already in this timeline. This is exciting. He joins Constellation and becomes its primary financial backer. Okay, so by this time, 2320, Constellation was founded in 2275. By 2321, Walter Stroud comes in and starts to become its primary financial backer. I'm curious if Constellation needed that financial backing. Maybe we were backed against a corner and he was our only option to kind of continue with our expeditions, or if we had other financial backers along the way and he's just kind of the newest one to come in. In 2322, former Crimson Fleet pirate Vladimir Saul joins Constellation. 2325, Sarah Morgan becomes the acting chair of Constellation. 2325, theologian Matteo Catri joins Constellation. 2326, Barrett finds the original artifact in the Constellation archives and knows it must be special. Okay, so maybe my previous theory before that Barrett could have been a catalyst to Constellation looking for these artifacts, that may be wrong. It sounds like he stumbled across this and nobody else knew what this was. But then maybe Barrett was the first one to have these visions. Okay. Same year, 2326, after months of correspondence with Sarah Morgan, graduate student and gifted scientist Noel is invited to join Constellation. 2327, Freestar Ranger Sam Coe and his daughter Cora join Constellation. Okay. So Sam Coe must be a lot older than we initially thought, because I thought he was going to be like a 25 to 30 something year old. And he has a daughter, Cora. Is this the mystery lady we've seen at the table with Constellation? Or in 2328, Andrea, forgive me for pronunciation, joins Constellation. Is Andrea the mystery girl at the table with everybody at Constellation? 2328, same year, Barrett convinces Constellation to purchase Star Station L868 and modify it to become a deep space scanner nicknamed the Eye. This is what we saw in the launch announcement trailer, where the guy's like saying, hey, maybe you'll catch a smile. This is the same one. Star Station L868. We heard that. Very interesting. And then that's the end of the timeline until 2330 AD. Just a couple years later, Starfield begins. Guys, this is so exciting. Okay, definitely nerding out over this, and there is a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to unpack. But already we know we got a couple, at least 2 or 3 of our speculations correct, of our guesses. And we got a lot more context for one of the big questions, like, okay, how did humanity get here? How did humanity get to be living in space and traveling faster than light and settling in different star systems within a course of years, as opposed to decades or centuries? Somehow we've figured this out, and this happened when we were living on Mars. Because in 2050, first humans arrive on Mars. By 2100, humans are living in space. And just 50 years after that, we arrived at Alpha Centauri. Gonna have to be traveling pretty fast to get to Alpha Centauri from Mars within that time frame. So a lot of more videos are coming on this. Changes my plans a little bit. Very exciting. Okay, just a quick recap before we go. 2050, first humans arrive on Mars. By 2100, humans are living in space. 2156, first humans arrive in Alpha Centauri. 2159, United Colonies are established. 2160, New Atlantis is founded. 2167, Cheyenne, settled by Solomon Coe. where Aquila City is. 2188, co-invites Volley to join Cheyenne. 2194, the United Colonies position their star system in the Nerion system. They do not like this, and they end up joining the Freestar Collective. Freestar mobilizes in 2196, and the Nerion War begins. 2216, the Treaty of Nerion is signed by the UC and the Freestar, ending the Nerion War. Just a few years later, Freestar Rangers are founded in the Freestar Collective. 2275, Constellation is formed. 2305, Barrett joins Constellation. 2307, Freestar Collective begins farming on the planet. UC does not like that and kills everybody, starting the Colony War. 2310, Constellation comes into the possession of the first artifact, but evidently doesn't realize what it's worth yet. 2311, after several years of conflict, the Battle of Cheyenne ends the Colony War. 2315, Vanguard is founded at UC. 2319, Sarah Morgan becomes the youngest head of UC Navigation Corps, but that is quickly disbanded. The division shuts down. She moves to Constellation. 2321, Walter Stroud becomes the primary financial broker for Constellation. 2322, former Crimson Fleet pirate Vlad joins Constellation. 2325, Sarah becomes the acting chair. 2325, theologian Matteo Catri joins. 2326, Barrett finds the original artifact and knows it must be special. 2326 as well, Sarah Morgan invites an OL to join Constellation. 2327, Sam Coe and his daughter Cora join. 2328, Andrea joins Constellation. 2328, Barrett convinces Constellation to purchase the star station L868. And then 2330 AD, Starfield begins. This was so cool to go through with all of you. Thank you so much for watching. If you will, please like the video, leave a comment on something that you caught in all of this that I didn't catch. I'm gonna have to process a lot of this and dig through it and chew on it for a bit, but definitely we're gonna have some great breakdown videos coming out about this. Thank you for experiencing this with me. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. We got a lot more content coming out before launch, especially with this now, but a lot of fun videos as well. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. Gamers are a unique group for sure, but Bethesda fans are a special subgroup of gamers. Enjoying the freedom that Bethesda Game Studios offers in their unique RPGs, players have been subliminally trained to do some crazy things just to see what will happen. Here are 17 things every Bethesda fan will do on day one in Starfield, and I think you'll definitely agree with number one. Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield. Quick disclaimer, yes, I received an early review code for Starfield from the generous folks at Bethesda, thank you again. And no, I cannot talk about my experience with the game until the embargo lifts on August 31st at 12 p.m. EDT. This script was actually written before I played the game and will not address anything we haven't already seen from Bethesda's own public marketing content. Also, be sure to join our Discord through the links in the description for a chance to win some really cool prizes. With that out of the way, enjoy the list. Number 17, start a fight with all the guards in your first visit to a new city, just to see how long you can stay alive. Bethesda fans have a long-standing tradition of stress testing in-game AI, and it often involves challenging these poor city guards. And though our early game character will most likely be severely underpowered, it's still a thrill just to punch a guard and, well, see how long we can last. Number 16, quick save approximately 139 times. Yes, we still don't trust autosave. And though autosave is much more dependable these days in most games, gamers' distrust of autosave stems from countless experiences in games where autosaves either trigger at the most inconvenient moments, like during intense battles or right after huge decisions, or they just don't work at all. Quick saving allows players to have more control over their progress, ensuring they can try a combat scenario or any other part of the game over and over again if they wish. Number 15, stealth headshot. The satisfaction of pulling off a stealth headshot lies not just in the kill, but in the precision and strategy it requires. Bethesda fans who adopt a stealthy approach relish these moments of silence and deadly accuracy. While they could probably clear a cave or building quicker just going in guns or axes blazing, it is so satisfying to line up a shot just right and get that rewarding kill cam as our enemies go down. Number 14, still the most useless stuff just lying around. Collecting seemingly insignificant items isn't about practicality, it's a quirk that adds a depth to the game's economy and immersion. Fans enjoy looting everything because why not? Oh yeah, number 13. Leave a sweet piece of gear behind because they are over encumbered. This is a testament to the wonder of exploration in Bethesda games and how they like to constantly reward players with loot. It may not be weapons or armors that you'll ever use, but you can sell it for a pretty profit. But after a while, you must make the agonizing decision of which gear to leave behind so you don't get stuck with the slow walk of shame for being over encumbered. Number 12, get into an intense dogfight with our spaceship. The allure of space combat is universal, and since the very first Starfield showcase back in 2022, Bethesda fans have eagerly anticipated ship combat in Starfield. They want to experience the adrenaline rush of space battles, engaging in skilled piloting, and witness epic explosions in the vacuum of space. Number 11, try to steal another spaceship. Since the very mention of pirates in the game several years ago, an excited and vocal subgroup of the Starfield community have committed to stealing as many ships as possible. While the desire to steal other spaceships has its merits to potentially try new designs and builds, there comes a point to where it goes beyond practicality and it's just a status symbol. Number 10, accidentally incapacitate your companion because, well, they got in the way. Companions have a knack for inadvertently placing themselves in the line of fire, often leading to amusing yet frustrating moments. Thankfully, they always get back up and take just a few seconds to recover until the next accident. Number 9, explain to their friends over and over again they're actually still having fun with this single-player game. Bethesda's single-player games are known for their immersive worlds and engaging narratives, but they're also infamous for consuming players' time. Fans often find themselves defending their choice to immerse in these rich single-player experiences to their friends who are just all about the multiplayer games. Number 8, start a second, third, or fourth character. The versatility of Bethesda's games encourages fans to explore different character builds, moral choices, and narrative directions. Starting new characters is a way to experience the game's variety and discover hidden content they missed their initial playthrough. Number 7, start a mission with a quick and specific goal in mind and totally get sidetracked by something that happened along the way. Bethesda games are designed to engage and reward your curiosity. Players often find themselves drawn away from their primary objectives by the allure of new adventures and unexpected encounters, highlighting the game's rich and dynamic world. Number 6, make up an excuse on why they can't go to work or that family event. The irresistible pull of a Bethesda game can lead to sudden signs of illness and fatigue when away from the game. Players get so immersed in the game's world that they may even contemplate skipping real-life obligations to continue their in-game journey. Just try to shower every few days at least. Number 5, read the first page of every note and book in hopes of earning XP or skill points. Bethesda often place little rewards for exploring in-game literature in the form of XP or extra skill points. As many Bethesda fans are often dedicated lore enthusiasts, this is a great fit. They scour every note and book for hidden stories, not just for role-playing immersion, but also in hopes of uncovering valuable in-game knowledge, making their exploration more rewarding. Number 4, try to fight some alien creature we stumble across that is 10 levels higher than us and get destroyed. We've all done it, seen an enemy we should clearly go around or run from, but there's a bravery in us that won't let us back down and a small thought of maybe we can take it. We willingly face off against overpowered foes for the thrill of the challenge, even if it means accepting defeat as a part of the journey. Number 3, totally procrastinate doing the simplest of things that could save an entire galaxy just to explore a little more and see what's out there. The desire to explore and uncover hidden gems often overrides the urgency of saving the world we're in. Players' penchant for exploration and curiosity drives them to procrastinate on critical missions in favor of uncovering one more map marker, or collecting just enough resources for a small upgrade to our weapon. Number 2, literally stop and watch the sunset on a planet. Bethesda's games are known for their awe-inspiring landscapes and really showed off how beautiful the game will look in the Starfield Direct event. With a dynamic photo mode included with the game, you can bet we'll all stop to take a few selfies with the beautiful worlds Bethesda has created. My review in progress video will launch when the embargo lifts on August 31st at 12 p.m. EDT. If you want to be the first to have all of your questions about Starfield answered, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Along with the review in progress video, I'll also be releasing hours of exclusive content for all patrons and channel members. So if you've been on the fence about joining up, now is the time to do it. Links are in the description. And number 1, spend way too long in the character creator. Character creation is an art form. Bethesda does such a great job of immersing players in their worlds that players want to invest a considerable amount of time to get their characters just right. Some players just want their characters to look like them, and others want to design a specific vision they have for a role play they have planned for the game. The extensive time spent in the character creator by players is always a huge compliment to the worlds Bethesda creates. Thank you to all of our existing patrons and channel members for being on the journey with us. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars. Thank you for watching the Starfield Signal Supercut Volume 4. I will see you on August 31st as we all get to enjoy Starfield together. For now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars.